Mitsuhara ran up gambling debts to a Southern California bookmaking operation.
The inside story of the biggest scandal in modern baseball.
He was absolutely bananas, the amount of bets he was making. I've never seen anything like it.
From 30 for 30 podcasts, this is The Betrayal of Shohei Ohtani.
Presented by Gusto. New episodes available now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
ESPN New York, now streaming live on YouTube. Subscribe today and watch the show. WHSQ and WCBS FM HD2, New York. This is Carlin.
You know I am not that bright.
On ESPN New York.
Fat, bald, nasally, I got it.
And streaming live on YouTube.
You're welcome.
You are welcome indeed, everybody. What is going on? Happy Friday. We have made it to the end of the week. 21st day of August, 2026. It is Grasso with you. Daniel, the first name on ESPN New York. 800-919-3776. That is the telephone number. We take it right up until 1 o'clock. Then it is a Friday edition of TMKS. The Michael K. Show will come your way for a couple of hours, leading you right into Don Hahn and Rosenberg as we head on off into one of the last couple remaining weekends of this summer, which is a little bittersweet, but it also means that football is right around the corner and other things as well. And we know that we got one of our football teams in action coming up a little bit later on tonight, preseason game number 2 for the New York Jets. They will be in Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. You won't see Aaron Rodgers. Hell, you won't even see Mason Rudolph tonight for Pittsburgh. Going to get a lot of Will Howard and Drew Aller as far as piloting the Steelers offense tonight. But from a Jet perspective, you're going to see Geno Smith, according to multiple reports, and you'll get his first crack and first go-round at leading this offense in somewhat of a game situation. So that'll be coming up tonight at 7 o'clock. Of course, we'll have you covered over on Q side at 6 o'clock with the pregame, Greg and myself, and then turning it over to Bob and Leger, who have the call for tonight's game. Giants continuing their stay down in South Beach against the Dolphins. That'll be coming up tomorrow afternoon at 4. They had a feisty, a spirited, I think some would say, joint practice yesterday down in the heat, down in the humidity down there in South Florida. And from all accounts, John Harbaugh and the training camp that he has implemented thus far in his first camp with the football Giants, according to a lot of players, kind of prepared them for the elements and the heat and whatever adversity you would face in those situations when they stepped onto the field against the Miami Dolphins yesterday. So we're going to have both ends of the football spectrum covered for you a little bit later on. We're going to talk to Rich Cimini, our good buddy on the Jets, coming up at 11, and then Jordan Raanan at noon. We figure, we'll give him the morning, probably a late night in South Beach for him, the clubs, the party, and all that stuff. So we'll catch up with Jordan around noon. We'll also give you a little sideline to sideline from my buddy Tom Bauer. He and Ray Dinahan are along producing the program today, as we have a lot of things in store for you here on this Friday, sending you off into the weekend. But once again, we're going to start with a little baseball today because, you know what? I don't know if you could feel it or not, but you getting that sense? You getting that sense a little bit that maybe, just maybe, the Yankees are putting themselves in conversation to possibly have a shot at stealing this American League East. I mean, there's still a lot of time left. And I know that for the longest time, I basically said, wave goodbye to the division title. You're not catching the Tampa Bay Rays. It's not happening. It's asking a lot. Forget about expecting yourself to play at an unbelievable clip, but then expecting a Tampa team, which has just been so rock solid all season long, expecting them to take a step back to kind of meet you halfway to give you an opportunity to leapfrog them and win this division. But we'll get to the Tampa part in just a little bit here. But as far as this baseball team is concerned, I mean, how can you not be thrilled with what you saw so far this week down in Baltimore, right? You sweep the O's. Yes, we spent a lot of time yesterday talking about the gift that you got from the umpiring crew the night before with the Pete Alonso home run, not home run, and then they took advantage and ended up winning a baseball game. But 4 in a row is 4 in a row. And when you look at the standings this morning in the American League East, you see a team that's only 4 games back at the Tampa Bay Rays. And you know what? With, 35-ish games or so to play, if I would have asked a Yankee fan a month ago, you know what, would you sign up to be 4 back with 5 weeks to play in the season? Probably would have said, darn right we would have. Knowing that I have this team 4 days, or 4 games, I should say, because one of them's a doubleheader, but 4 games in my ballpark, the final week of the regular season, hopefully a more healthy and well-rounded version of the New York Yankees by the time that series rolls around. How could you not sign up for that? And how could you not be excited first and foremost? And you know what? Let's give our friend Mr. K some credit for the term that he used last night during the broadcast for that Yankee output of 6 runs. He called it an offensive orgy. And I think that that's a good way to put it. I mean, like, what team are we watching right now? You know, this team that went, it seemed like forever without being able to put 3 runs on the board on any given day. Now back-to-back games where they've put 5+ up there on the old scoreboard. Like, what team am I watching? You know, are Judge and Bellinger back in the lineup and they're just disguised as other players? You know, did we not see this? Like, what is happening right now? Elliot Ramos, welcome to the New York Yankees. Finally, you know, it took about 3 weeks, but Ramos finally has his first run batted in as a New York Yankee. Don't think for a second that Brian Cashman does not know what he's doing when it comes to picking up these guys off of other teams. That genius. But you know what?
3 runs in an inning. It's an offensive orgy.
It's an offensive orgy. That is right. I love it. And you know what? Like I said, he's spot on. Tom, you're a Yankee guy. What do you think about that? Offensive orgy. Satisfied for you?
You know, I think Michael should make shirts with his big head on it, and it should say Yankees offensive orgy on it. I think they would go triple platinum.
Look, I know the internet works fast, and I'm glad that you said that, because I guarantee you, by the time the show is over today, give it about 3 hours, and I'm sure the people were already hard at work on this all night long. They probably didn't even sleep, designing, you know, creating. You might already see prototypes on the internet with Michael's face on it and then offensive orgy in Yankee colors. Like this thing is already, the wheels are in motion. Can't you see that happening already?
Oh, I can absolutely envision it. In fact, I'm going to look at Twitter right now and see if there's any preliminary designs.
We got to talk to Michael a little bit later on when he, you know, connects here and gets ready to do the show. Like, we have to pop him up for a few minutes to talk about that. You know, where he garnered the inspiration. Did it just come naturally?
Yeah, who do you think taught him that phrase?
I think that's just something organic.
Interesting.
That's ingrained. That's something that 30 years behind a big league mic will do for you. You know, he's seen it all. He's called it all. Announcing Yankee games for 3 decades. And then when you have that much...
Have you ever
What's
seen
that?
Have you ever seen the Yankee orgy?
Me personally?
Yeah.
No.
I feel like Tom has participated.
Tom, is that accurate or not?
Cannot confirm nor deny. I will just leave that out there.
Is this like an internet thing, like the Yankee orgy that I'm not aware of? Is this something that's maybe been brewing underground, perhaps?
It might not even be brewing underground. It might just be out there in the open. You just might be a little oblivious to it.
And you know what? Now we have a voice behind it, and we might even have merch here pretty soon. Like, think about it. If the Yankees all of a sudden become like the second coming of the 1927 Yankees, right? Murderers Row. Like, think about how this offensive orgy thing could possibly spur them to greater good in 2026 and maybe a trip back to the World Series. Think about how magical that would be.
Like a magic carpet ride.
Like the offensive orgy magic carpet ride back to the World Series. But nevertheless, okay, that being said, you like what this team is doing. You know, and they've had the upper hand on the Baltimore Orioles this year. Good. You know, you're not going to ever get penalized for beating up on teams in your own division. Those are the ones that you end up playing the most. If it means that you're putting wins in your pocket and penalizing them in the process, so be it, right? And we know that it has been, like, all kidding aside, right? Like, we know that it's been a struggle for this Yankee team when it comes to scoring runs, really since the beginning of June, when Judge went on the shelf, right? And then others have followed suit, of course. You know, Bellinger then joined the injured brigade there, and even with Max Fried on the shelf right now, and who knows when you're going to see him again. And look, I wouldn't hold my breath for Giancarlo Stanton. The refrain in Yankee land, even with those guys out of the lineup, and you heard Aaron Boone talk about this, Brian Cashman will also even throw it out there whenever you put a microphone in front of him, is that the belief is that they still have enough on this baseball team to make things work. right? And I think that if you're talking about, the Yankees in regards to the rest of the American League being a playoff team, I mean, that's absolutely the case. There's still no excuse for this team not to be in the postseason, and they're going to be in the postseason. It's not like we're sitting here saying that they're in any jeopardy of not making the playoffs. We know that. I mean, the American League is just god-awful, and we've talked about this seemingly for months. I was talking with somebody yesterday, a buddy of mine, that works in baseball, and that was one of the things that came up, believe it or not, just how bad this American League is. And, yesterday we pointed out the fact that you're probably going to have the third wild card team this year in the American League get into the playoffs with a sub-500 record. Forget about making the playoffs as a wild card with a sub-500 record. We might have a division champion in the American League this year with a losing mark, which is like incomprehensible to me, right? I mean, look at what's happened in the American League West. You might have a losing team win a division. I can't even remember the last time that happened in baseball. Tom, maybe you could look that up. When was the last time a team with a losing record won a division in baseball? You play 162 games. You would think you would break even at some point if you're even halfway decent and consider yourself a playoff squad. But last night, aside from the fact, as we said, we had some laughs there with Ramos, but it was good to see Garcia do his thing offensively. One of the other newbie Yankees, Spencer Jones as well, hitting one out of the ballpark. And really, Garrett Cole did not need all that much help on the mound because he was in control last night. I loved what I saw from him, the four-seam fastball with that late life on it. It shows me that a guy who, certainly has had his season thwarted because of injury and maybe hasn't necessarily been able to stay in the routine that we're accustomed to seeing from him. Now as we get to the home stretch here, that maybe, just maybe, there's going to be a lot more left in the tank on this guy because he's thrown that many less bullets compared to a pitcher who, has been out there since opening day and hasn't had to miss a start. And what you like from Cole, too, last night, contrast from the first two games of that series, is that he was able to pitch 6 innings, spare that bullpen a little bit, and you know what? A tip of the cap to Ryan Yarbrough. Because that bullpen had been way overtaxed in the first 2 games of this series. And the fact that Yarbrough was able to go out there last night, get 9 outs, not even have to think about going to more of your high-leverage type relief pitchers. I mean, Aaron Boone couldn't have drawn up that one any better last night. And guess what? That's what an ace is supposed to do, kids, right? That is why you have a guy like Garrett Cole. And that is the value that he is supposed to provide to your baseball team. So credit to him. And credit to this team for going out there and getting the job done and sweeping away a Baltimore Orioles team, which, let's face it, is kind of just trying to hang on for dear life when it comes to making the postseason. But if you're a Yankee fan, you're not done with the Orioles just yet because you rooted against them for the last 3 days, and now all of a sudden you have to flip the switch and you're going to be rooting for the Orioles this weekend because Tampa Bay goes into Camden Yards for 3 this weekend, and you're hoping that Baltimore is going to be able to snap out of this thing and then help the Rays continue to reel, which they've been doing here for the past week. I mean, they've dropped, I think it's 5 out of their last 7. The Blue Jays went down to the Trop and hit them around pretty hard here over the last couple of days. And maybe if Baltimore gets the bats going a little bit and hits some, no doubt, fair home runs instead of questionably fair home runs, that'll be music to the ears of Yankee fans. And this homestand that the Yanks have beginning tonight against the Toronto Blue Jays, you could make the case that, this is going to be, when you're talking about a singular homestand, like this could be maybe like the most important stretch that they have for the remainder of the season. And that even includes the 4 games that they have against Tampa Bay coming up at the end of the year. Because you got a Toronto team this weekend, which is fighting for their lives. You got to face Dylan Cease tomorrow, which is no picnic, as we know. Then you get the day off Monday, which is going to be much, much, much welcome, as we know. Then you got an Astros team coming in, which we know can pack a lot of punch, right? You got Yordan Alvarez. Even though the Astros are very up and down, when you got a team that has Yordan Alvarez on it, and Alvarez is having a special season, he's probably going to win the American League MVP. He's could win the Triple Crown, and not just the American League Triple Crown, could win the Major League Baseball Triple Crown. That's how good of a season that Alvarez is having, and it's kind of just flying under the radar a little bit because the rest of his team has not necessarily followed suit. And then, of course, you got the Red Sox coming in for 4 games. So these 10 are really going to tell us a lot about this Yankee team and possibly where things are headed for them going into the month of September. But the most important part of this whole thing is where things stand right now with the walking wounded, right? Because really that's going to make or break what this Yankee team is able to do. And Bellinger last night got on the field for Scranton. He was the designated hitter. He got a hit in 3 at-bats. Good news. Maybe he plays one more game with the AAA team, and then he's back possibly, I don't know, Sunday, or maybe they're going to wait until after the off day, and then he gets back in the lineup on Tuesday for the Houston Astros. We shall see, but obviously that is going to be a much, much, much welcome return for this Yankee team. And look, it's going to complicate things ever so slightly for Aaron Boone, that he's going to have to move some pieces around in that outfield when you have Bellinger back in the mix, because Bellinger's going to play. Obviously he's going to, but that's a good problem to have. Aaron Boone has probably been sitting around for the last couple of months waiting for these guys to get back into the lineup. And then when you throw in the players that they brought in at the trade deadline, he's just waiting to finally manage a full deck and to how this thing is possibly going to go. Give me a full roster and a full complement of players that I can finally put in positions to help us win games. Give me a full bench that I can go to create matchup problems for whoever the heck we're going to be facing. That's what this thing is all about. You got even good news on the Aaron Judge front as well, and the fact that now he's beginning to hit off of a tee. Now, you still got a long way to go, but the fact that he is using his body in a swinging motion, even though it's not live pitching, it still is a step in the right direction. There haven't been any sort of steps backwards, like what happened with Giancarlo Stanton, however long ago it was, when he had the running program and then he suffered a brand new injury to the calf while he was working his way back from the first setback. So they're still going to tread lightly with this, because God forbid you have any sort of regression. Because right now, when you look at the calendar with 5 weeks to play in the regular season, if you're going to tell me that, God forbid Judge has any sort of a setback, you may not even be getting him back at all before the playoffs come around. And that is the last thing that the Yankees can ill afford to have happen here. So good news on Bellinger. Like I said, we're talking about a couple of days possibly before he returns to the fold. Judge is hitting off of a tee. All right, slowly but surely, baby steps. Is it possible that maybe he's back out there wearing a Yankee uniform in a few weeks with no more setbacks? You hope. You cross your fingers. And Stanton, I don't know what to tell you. Like, seriously, I think we're just wasting our time worrying about what the future lies in store for Giancarlo Stanton. He's in the middle of his running program. He's had a running program since April. I mean, I could run 12 marathons already by the time, with all the running that this guy's done in the last 4 or 5 months. I don't think that you could count on him at all as far as any sort of a contribution for the month of October if you're a Yankee fan. I mean, that's just the reality. It's the bottom line. And with Max Fried in his situation, look, it's still new, right? I mean, the Yankees were somewhat optimistic, thinking that it wasn't going to be as lengthy as his last time on the shelf because of the issue surrounding that elbow. The good news, and as we've all talked about, is that the Yankees do have that depth when it comes to the starting pitching. And you never want to lose a guy like Fried. 1,000% you don't. But if there's one area of this team that the Yankees are maybe adept and equipped to compensate for the loss of a guy like that, it's because of this starting rotation. This weekend you got Schlittler, you got Weathers, and you got Carlos Rodon as your 3 against the Blue Jays. And like I said, that game tomorrow with Weathers against Cease, that to me is really, really intriguing. Not just because, Toronto's going up with their guy who's a Cy Young contender and all that stuff, but I really like the way that Ryan Weathers is throwing the baseball right now. And how can you not if you're a New York Yankee fan? We talked about that for a good long while at this point. This is easily the best stretch of baseball that we have seen from Ryan Weathers in his career. And look, he's, had to make some stops along the way, and he was a big-time, ballyhooed prospect once upon a time when he came up before. That was even before COVID, for crying out loud. But it just hasn't been able to all kind of come together for him. But what you've seen from him in the last month is the vision that I think that the Yankees had when they went out there and acquired him in the offseason, thinking that, maybe we could tap into what this guy does really, really well and use it to our advantage here. So kudos to him, and you want him to keep doing this, and especially with Fried down on the shelf, I think that each and every guy who's still in this rotation is just going to have to give you a little bit more, right? to help see this thing through to the very end. Let's hear from the Yankee manager on the difference that he has seen in the offense of late.
Better. Again, I do feel like we've been better for the last week or 10 days, even on some of the days where we haven't had results. And again, I feel like some individuals are in a little bit better of a place. As a team, we're in a little better of a place offensively, but we got to keep getting better. There's more in there for all of us, and we got to keep getting it out.
And what about completing that sweep against the O's there, Aaron?
Getting that last one, obviously, in Toronto and coming here, playing a hot team right now and really putting together a good series. So great way to finish a road trip. Quick turnaround to get ready for the Jays again tomorrow, though.
I got to be honest, like I said earlier, I don't think this is something you minimize. I know it's easy to just kind of look at the standings and see a Baltimore team that's in last place, right? And really hasn't been able to, fully put it all together this year. And you say, oh, well, you know what? If you're a team that fashions yourself as a contender, that's what you should do to a last place team. Yeah, but this time of the year, at this stage of the season, it's not as cut and dry as let's just go out there and compare records and that's who should win. And the fact that it's not just the fact that they found a way to win 3 games down in Baltimore, it's how they won the 3 games. We talked about it yesterday, the adversity that they were dealt in late in the game back on Wednesday with the Alonso home run, non-home run, and then they use it to their advantage. They turn around, they put a couple of runs on the board, and they end up winning a game. The bats breaking out like they have really the last 2 nights, I think, is something that should be commended for this baseball team. And now you see what this gets you. Bottom line, this is what it's all about. You want to be playing your best baseball once you hit late August going into September. And, it's almost as if the Yankees, if you want to take a real optimistic, positive spin on this whole thing, even though the trade deadline was, August the 3rd, Yankees are almost going to have themselves a second trade deadline. Because you think about the guys that are going to be returning here hopefully pretty soon, starting with Bellinger and then hopefully Judge, Stanton, Fried, and whatnot. I mean, those are 4 all-star players, for crying out loud. What team in Major League Baseball? And this is the glass half full approach, okay, that I am giving Yankee Nation right now. What team in Major League Baseball from now until the end of the season can claim that they are about to get 4 all-stars potentially back into their lineup between now and the end of the regular season? Nobody could say that. There's not one team. And that should give you extra confidence about what this team could possibly do. And, oh, by the way, in a very, very inferior American League. Yankee fans, want to hear from you after last night's offensive orgy at 800-919-3776. That is the telephone number. We got a busy show for you on this Friday. I'm not kidding around. I mean, we got a little bit of everything for you today. We'll do plenty of football with the Giants and Jets playing preseason game number 2 this weekend. Rich Cimini on the Jets at 11. We got Jordan Raanan on the Giants at noon. We'll give you a sideline to sideline mixed in, plus plenty of your phone calls. It is Graca sitting with you on this Friday. It has stopped raining. It has stopped monsooning. The tornadoes have blown out of here. I mean, again, where do we live that we're getting tornadoes now like once every couple of weeks? What the hell is happening? But hopefully everybody made it out in one piece. Friday show, ESPN New York. We come right back.
ESPN New York and MSG Network are joining forces.
Big news, Jazz hands.
Start your mornings with DiPietro and Rothenberg, live on the MSG Network. Then stick around for Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg, live on MSG every afternoon.
We are beyond excited to start simulcasting on MSG Networks.
So think about this for a quick second. You got us in the morning 6 to 10. You got our afternoon show 3 to 7. And then right after that, you're talking Knicks, you're talking Rangers.
Oh yeah. You wake up, you pop it on again, and there we are, waiting for you. Good morning.
ESPN New York and MSG Network, together like never before. It all starts Tuesday, September 8th.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Call 877-CARS for Kids to reach a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now or go to carsforkids.org.
7 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
Big problems in Queens. We got a mess on the LIE westbound. 3 right lanes are closed with the crash at 74th Street. Truck and a car involved there. Traffic is jammed from the Van Wyck. A mess on the Outer Bridge crossing. Both ways closed with a crash Jersey-bound side. Oil spill involved there. Go with the Goethals Bridge. And on the BQE, watch out southbound westbound 278 at 30th Avenue. It's a broken down car in the left lane. Westbound Route 4 at Paramus at Route 17. An accident. And New Jersey Transit 30-minute delays in and out of New York's Penn Station because of a broken down Amtrak train in one of the Hudson River tunnels. I'm Bob Williams on 880 ESPN New York.
Hey, New York and New Jersey, Boost Mobile has an unlimited talk, text, and data plan that's only $25 a month forever, meaning you'll only ever pay $25 a month for the rest of your life. Who wouldn't want unlimited wireless when it only costs $25 a month forever? If you don't, you must be one of those people who enjoy overpaying for their phone plan. $25 a month forever is truly as good as it gets. So go online and switch now at boostmobile.com. After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Mobile Unlimited plan.
Hey guys, it's Peter Rosenberg, and listen, you know me. I'm always honest about what's going on with my life, and recently I've just been dealing with some nagging pain that I finally decided I wasn't going to ignore anymore. So I ran into my guy, Dr. Jay Shah at Samwell Pain. Decided to set a meeting, and after we talked, I understood why so many people recommend him. He's Ivy League trained, all right? He's the real deal. He's double board certified, and he takes a non-surgical approach to helping people get back to living their lives. If pain is keeping you from enjoying your summer, don't just live with it. Go check out Samwell Pain. Visit SamwellPain.com. Trust me.
There are a million reasons to love New York. Making your budget stretch isn't one of them. According to an independent study, Amazon prices average 14% lower than other retailers. Get food, fashion, furniture, and more shipped straight to your building. Plus, another study found Amazon Prescription Pass customers pay nearly 1/3 less out of pocket. Learn more at aboutamazon.com.
D'Agostino Law Bite Back. This is John D'Agostino from D'Agostino and Associates. Did you know Social Security takes money out of every paycheck you earn, paycheck after paycheck, and you're not supposed to touch that money until you're 67? What if you can't work? What if you need that money now? The system is challenging and most people get denied. That's a fact. D'Agostino and Associates has the experience to win, and we win a lot. If you filed for Social Security disability benefits and were denied, let us appeal. Call us first at 1-800-BITE-BACK. Bite Back means fight back. 1-800-248-3222. We'll fight to get you paid. D'Agostino and Associates has offices throughout New York and New Jersey and handles Social Security disability claims and appeals. Remember, if you've been denied, call us first. 1-800-BITE-BACK. That's 1-800-248-3222. D'Agostino and Associates. We win a lot.
Shohei Ohtani's interpreter was fired today. Ippei Mitsuhara ran up gambling debts to a Southern California bookmaking operation.
The inside story of the biggest scandal in modern baseball.
He was absolutely bananas, the amount of bets he was making. I've never seen anything like it.
From 30 for 30 podcasts, this is The Betrayal of Shohei Ohtani.
Presented by Gusto. New episodes available now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
When's the last time payroll was the easy part of your week? With Gusto, it can be. Gusto is the all-in-one platform designed to take the hassle out of managing your team, from payroll and compliance to hiring, onboarding, and more. With Gusto, you can get back 2 full days each month with all the time you've saved. Go to gusto.com today and learn why over 500,000 small businesses choose Gusto. That's GUSTO.com. Gusto.com.
All right, Dan Graca with you here on this Friday on ESPN New York, at Dan Graca on the socials. 800-919-3776 is the telephone number. Shout out to my guy Yankee Mike on X, who sent along a pretty cool shot there, kind of a prototype of Mr. K screaming into the yes mic. It's an offensive orgy. So that was some good imagination by him. As we talk about the Bronx Bombers, who sweep the Baltimore Orioles and now get ready to bring in the Toronto Blue Jays this weekend to Yankee Stadium. We were talking about it earlier with the fact that you might have a division champion this year in the American League, likely the AL West champion, if it's going to happen, that might actually finish under 500. And there is never indeed, thanks to our friends over at the Bauer Sports Bureau, headed by Tom, of course, no team has ever finished under 500 and won their division with a full season. 1994, which obviously nobody gave out any awards that year in 94, but the Texas Rangers were in first place in the American League West when the strike hit. They were 10 under 500, but that doesn't mean anything, of course. 81, you had the strike, teams with the first half of the season, stuff like that. The Mets, remember the 73 Mets, that went all the way to the World Series with that improbable run late in the season. They finished 3 games over 500. The 05 Padres went 82-80 and won the National League West. And, of course, baseball fans around here, specifically Met fans, will probably, unfortunately, remember the 2006 St. Louis Cardinals, who, if you remember back then, that was the National League Central in 2006. It was the Cardinals, and I want to say the Astros, who were vying for that National League Central championship, and St. Louis got hot there late in the season, took the division away from Houston, and they finished with 83 wins that year, winning the National League Central. And the Cardinals were probably the team that you could use, that classic example of getting hot at the right time, because unfortunately, we all remember what happened in the postseason. The Cardinals and their 83 wins got into the postseason, got to the NLCS, shocked the Mets in 7 games, and then they parlayed that to a World Series championship, beating the Detroit Tigers in the Fall Classic with those 83 measly wins. That one still stings 20 years later, okay? I'm old enough to admit, all right? It still stings 20 freaking years later. Anyway, let's get some calls up here. 800-919-3776. That is the telephone number. And let us say hi to our pal Frank at Syosset, who's batting leadoff for us here on ESPN New York. Frankie, how are you, my friend?
Good morning. Yeah, I heard you say the Yankees have to, play their best baseball. And I don't think they did Wednesday night. They have to play smart, clean baseball. Wednesday night, the Orioles had runners on first and third. And Wells took the bait. Their runner on first stole second. And Wells just took the bait. And they blamed Chisholm for it on the Yankee broadcast, the TV broadcast. I think it was Wells' fault. He stole second. As soon as he threw the ball down to second, the runner on third base came home. He was halfway down the line as soon as he released the ball to throw it to second base. If you noticed last night, Spencer Jones took second base. The Orioles catcher did not throw the ball down to second. Same scenario. Yankees had runners on first and third. Yankees can't afford to give runs away. They got to play smarter baseball, cleaner baseball.
Well, Frank, here's the thing. I hear what you're saying. Not every game is going to be perfection, and it's not going to be a gem. The thing that impressed me on Wednesday night in particular is everything that went down with the Alonso home run, and the fact that they were able to get a new lease on life, thanks to whether you think it was a blown call or not, and then immediately, next time up in that half inning, they scratched across a couple of runs on the board and were able to sew away that victory. To me, that was impressive. Not every game is going to be perfect. I don't care what team you are. You're going to have miscues. These guys are human. You might have your brain cramps on the field. But to me, the fact that they're finding ways to win games, even if they're ugly, at the end of the day, that's all you should care about.
No, I got you, Dan. I just, as a fan, what can I say? We notice these little quirks, and we just, care about our team, and we're just. That's how I guess the older Yankee fans are. It's a generational thing, too. We've seen a lot of championships, so we always compare. We always go back. This team versus the '90s team or the '70s when they won in the '70s. It's just, it's not something. It just happens automatically with me. I can't help
Frank,
it.
Frank, I get it. I totally get it. But you know what? Don't let that bother you, really and truly. And thanks a lot for the phone call. You can't get caught up in those type of things. Winning at the end of the day is the most important thing. All right? And especially, and I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm making excuses for the Yankees, because I'm not. But they're operating with less than a full deck. The fact that they're still sitting here, let me just get this, 17 games over 500. As depleted as they are, like I said, they're missing, from a lineup perspective, definitely, the three most accomplished bats that they have on this team are all on the shelf. And they have been on the shelf for quite some time, including a guy who might be one of the most irreplaceable players, one or two of them, in all of baseball, and Aaron Judge. And if I would have told you on June 1st, when you woke up and started to face reality and a planet that was not going to have Aaron Judge and his number 99 in pinstripes on a consistent day in, day out basis for the Yankees, if I would have told you that it was going to be upwards of 3 months you weren't going to have him, but I said, you know what? Don't worry about it, because by the time you get to late August, you're going to be 17 games over 500, and you're still now going to be within striking distance of getting that American League East crown. You would have said, all right, things could be worse. I'll take it, right? I'll take it. There's a lot of other teams that right now would sign to be where the Yankees are right now. I'm not going to get caught up about the execution and all that other stuff. Leave that to later in the year. Leave that to even October, for crying out loud. Now it's about just finding ways to win games and see if you could get this thing to the finish line and put yourself in as good a position as possible. Because quite frankly, look around this American League right now. Who scares you? Right? I know that we've asked ourselves that question a lot throughout the summertime, Like you look around the rest of the landscape and it's like, okay, well, who's the biggest threat? Remember we asked who's the biggest threat to the Yankees? Who's the biggest threat? And you know what? Look, I'll take the hit. Me and a lot of other people, there was a time when I would tell you that the Seattle Mariners were the biggest threat, possibly in the American League, because of the quality starting pitching they could throw at you. And what's laughable is that the Mariners are now in third place in the American League West. They're 8 games under 500, but they're only 4 games out of first place. Do you know how poor the Mariners are? Did you see what happened to them in Milwaukee over the last few days? Did you see the final score from a few nights ago in Milwaukee when they lost 22-0? 22-0. That's not supposed to happen. Okay, so nobody in the American League West scares you in any way, shape, or form. Nobody in the American League Central should scare you. The Red Sox are it's the best way to put it. Red Sox are a plucky team. I'll use that word. Plucky, right? But they're inconsistent. Give them credit for getting themselves back into the conversation, but I wouldn't sit here and say that, they could be a thorn in your side. And Tampa Bay has been the best team in the American League pretty much all year from start to finish, right? But now they've leveled off a little bit. And I think that what's happening with Tampa Bay, more than anything, is that they're now starting to adjust to life with this new roster post-trade deadline. Right? It's been about 2.5 weeks. You get that initial surge from the guys that are in, but it's like now everything is kind of even keel. And you can't expect to play just like supernatural baseball all through 162 games. Eventually, you're going to hit your dips, and Tampa Bay is having one right now. And the good thing about the Yankees are doing by winning games, they're taking advantage of the Tampa lapses and getting themselves to within 4 games of the division lead, which is all you can really ask for. Hang around. Stay within striking distance until you get a full complement of players back, and then you make your push in the month of September. That's what the Yankees have to be doing now. Sal's in Brooklyn. He's up next here on ESPN New York. Let's say hi to him. Sal, what's going on, buddy?
Dan, good morning, my good man. How are you?
Sal, I'm great. What's going on today?
Excellent. Thank you. You're popping like usual, man. You're doing a great show, man. You got a good voice out there for radio, as they say. I don't know how you look, but like the old ladies used to say back in the day, he's got a good voice for radio.
Sal, you don't know how I look.
He's got a face for radio.
You're not talking about this guy, and my mother would tell you otherwise, too.
Anyway, hey, the only team that could, honestly, in the American League with the Yankees is the Yankees. If they play that sloppy ball, fall asleep, get picked off, make those silly mental errors, they're going to just defeat themselves, number one. And number two, Jazz. Everybody has a hard time with this guy because he takes mental time off in between games. I guess he gets bored. Like that game when a kid hit that cheap Baltimore ground ball, he almost gets picked off at third. He's going to give you both ends of the spectrum. And then the next pitch, he's taking home plate easy by 10 feet. He's all or nothing. They got to leave him alone. Let him play. He's going to give you the bad plays, But in the playoffs, man, he gets on, that single is a triple, man. So stop booing the kid. Give him this break. We know he thinks he's a superstar that he's not, but he's a B plus, A minus player at second base, man. So he's going to ride it out. Yankees ain't going to bench him. Stop saying, give me Caballero. This guy's 10 times the player Caballero is. And they're only going to defeat themselves with mental errors in the playoffs if it comes down to that with this type of pitching that they got. That's my thing, Dan.
So it's funny you bring up the Jazz stuff, and thanks a lot for the phone call. I got to be honest with you. The Jazz Chisholm experience is like a roller coaster with the Yankees, right? It's like being on a roller coaster. You get some highs, and then you get some lows, right? But it's always going to be interesting. Like the play the other night, I can't remember what night that was because all the days run into one another. Tom, what was the night where he blamed the umpire for booting the ground ball?
That would be Wednesday night, I believe.
Wednesday night. Like that, for example. Like that, to me, is classic Jazz. Make the play. Make the play. Like if you're locked in and you're focused, you should make the play. It's not like the ball hit the bag and then caromed into the outfield or something like that. Like it didn't hit the umpire. He wasn't deliberately trying to screen you. Like make the play. Find a way. You can knock the umpire over. Then that's his bad, not yours. Go get the ball. You're entitled. You're playing the game. You got the glove on your hand, not him. But that type of episode right there is something that drives you crazy. And you just hope in a big spot that it's not going to come back to bite you. Because, as Sal just said, there's days where he goes out there and he looks like an all-star player. When he's dialed in, when he's getting big hits, when he's taking the extra base, when, maybe he's making a spectacular play in the field, all that stuff. But then more often than not, he does a lot of dodo things out in the field. To where you say, boy, is this guy going to be a liability for us in a big spot? And, the jury is still out. Let's be real. We know that he talks a good game. We know that he fashions himself as, a superstar player. He's not that. He's not that guy. And quite frankly, you're probably looking at the final 5 weeks of Jazz Chisholm in a New York Yankee uniform. I don't think there's any reward to bringing him back next year. Well, 5 weeks and then plus the playoffs, of course. But, you've got to ride this thing out because what are your options right now? And especially with these other guys out of the lineup, he's actually one of the players that you look to say, okay, I need you to do a little bit more and to pull your weight even greater to be able to make this thing work. All right, big news, big news for New York sports fans. DiPietro and Rothenberg, Don Hahn and Rosenberg, they are coming to MSG Networks. That is right. And it all starts on Tuesday, September the 8th. You can catch our morning and afternoon shows simulcasted across MSG Networks television and digital platforms. You can still catch us on 880 a.m., the ESPN New York app, YouTube, and a whole lot more. But we're also very, very excited to start simulcasting on MSG Networks, which is going to give our shows an even bigger platform to reach our fans. Don't miss out. It is all starting September the 8th on MSG Networks. Cannot wait. 800-919-3776, the telephone number. Remember, we'll talk Jets with Rich Cimini coming up at 11. We roll till 1 on this Friday. Grasso with you on ESPN New York.
Hey, Yankees fans, gather a group of 10 or more and take advantage of our 2026 Yankees group ticket specials. Whether you're getting together with family and friends, organizing a fundraiser, or entertaining clients, your group will love bonding over the Bronx Bombers. Start planning your 2026 group outings today. Log on to Yankees.com/groups. Call 212-YANKEES or email us at groups@Yankees.com. That's 2026 group tickets. Call 212-YANKEES or visit Yankees.com/groups today.
Calling hard seltzer lovers. Searching for the tastiest seltzer? Look no further. Neutral Vodka Seltzer is absolutely delicious. Made with real vodka and real juice, Neutral keeps it tasty with every sip. With flavors like peach, orange, strawberry, and pineapple, there's something for everyone. Neutral. Keep it tasty. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2026 Anheuser-Busch. Neutral flavored vodka and carbonation. 4.5% alcohol by volume. St. Louis, Missouri.
If you've been injured on a construction site, then you need a lawyer who knows New York's unique labor laws. At the Parisman Firm, they have decades of experience handling construction accident cases and a proven track record of delivering huge results. Their team has already recovered nearly $1 billion for hardworking New Yorkers. From scaffold accidents to slip and falls and equipment failures, they've got your back. Call the Parisman Firm now at 718-WORKERS. That's right, 718-WORKERS, because your case is their cause. Get the justice you deserve today.
This is the Michael Kay Show.
Take a look around Major League Baseball, and the Yankees are a lot closer to perfect than most of the teams that are supposedly real championship contenders. And I'll say this with no equivocation whatsoever. If the Yankees were healthy with their running it back philosophy that everybody kicked around, they'd be running it back and running over the competition.
The Michael Kay Show, weekdays at 1 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube. Presented by the Parisman Firm.
Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. You push yourself in everything you do, scanning headlines for insights, keeping an eye on the market. Robinhood puts you in control of your money, all on one platform. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move.
When you're vacationing in your RV, there are some things you can always count on. Quality time with the family, watching for shooting stars, and your cousin's need to take a photo of everything.
Scooch closer to the grill. You're out of the shot. I love the lighting here. Mark, you're blinking again. I'm not moving. You guys have to move. This one's blurry. Wait, don't take a bite of the corn. I want to get a pic.
With Progressive, your RV is protected 24/7, so you're prepared for whatever you don't see coming.
I'm just taking a picture of the grill. Thank you.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in D.C.
Evan Cohen here. In sports, anyone can say they're the best. The actual best? They prove it. That's what I like about Midas. When you buy tires at Midas with paid installation, you get their limited lifetime tire guarantee included at no extra cost. That includes flat repairs or flat replacements and tire rotations every 5,000 miles. That's confidence you can drive on, mile after mile, because the best don't just say it, they back it up. Midas, the best around.
I'm David Ortiz. When I lost my mom, she was only 46. And I lost my dad to cancer. It was the worst pain I ever felt. It made me think, what will happen with the people I love when my time is up? That's why I have life insurance. Ethos makes it easy. It's all online, take about 10 minutes, and you can get up to $3 million in coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game. Paid testimonial. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Congratulations, New York. The Knicks did it. Through battle after battle, they dominated to become this year's NBA champions. Day in and day out, the hard work paid off, and you were there every step of the way. Enjoy the crown. Own it, because this year is your year. A part of your legacy that will never be forgotten. So celebrate this moment, show your pride, and shop the largest selection of official NBA gear at NBAstore.com. A Fanatics experience.
All right, listen up. The New York Red Bulls take on the Philadelphia Union on Saturday, August 29th at Sports Illustrated Stadium for Anime Night, presented by the New Jersey Lottery. That is a week from tomorrow. Arrive early for the Boulevard at 4 p.m. for food trucks, games, family fun, and you get a free match day poster while supplies last. When gates open, the first 10,000 fans can score a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card pack. That's right, a Yu-Gi-Oh! Card pack for your chance to win a family 4-pack of tickets. Enter right now at ESPNNewYork.com or through the ESPN New York app. Kickoff set for 7:30 p.m. Bring your crew and make it a night to remember. Get your tickets today at NewYorkRedBulls.com. Grasso with you here on this Friday on ESPN New York at 800-919-3776. Before we get back to the baseball conversation, little tennis news that has just come down the pike. And boy, it's been a little bit of the yin and the yang over the last 24 hours for the tennis world. Yesterday, good news that Carlos Alcaraz is going to make his return to the tour for the U.S. Open. Now, Carlos hasn't played since, I think, like April, dealing with a wrist injury. So to have at least some sort of star power for the final Grand Slam of the season. Big news. But today, they made it official, on the other hand, that the other of the top two players in the world, Jannik Sinner, who's the number one ranked player in the world, he will not be playing the U.S. Open this year, dealing with a little bit of a knee injury, which was kind of surprising, to be quite honest with you, because really had not played at all since Wimbledon when he won that for the second consecutive season. And then he took the rest of the summer off, and not really knowing or thinking that anything was wrong, but he dropped out of Cincinnati, which was one of the hard court Masters 1000s, which is still going on right now, the lead up for the U.S. Open, and hoping that maybe he would recover in time to play, and turns out he's going to be out. So that is a big hit for the tournament. You know, you need the star power. You know, yo-yos like me who are diehards and are going to watch it anyways, forget it. But you want to get as much of the casual observer as you can in there, and not having some of that name recognition is going to hurt in a big, big way. And this is also on the heels of a lot of, you know, stories being written and talked about here when it comes to just the ridiculous level of inflated prices that these tickets for the U.S. Open are now experiencing, especially on the secondary market, where it's almost like 4 times the average of, you know, the price of a ticket at any one of these other Grand Slams, you know, whether it's Wimbledon or Roland Garros or even Australia, compared to what, you know, you're asking to pay now if you want to get in even on the grounds for the first day of the tournament. I'm not talking about, you know, sitting center court at Arthur Ashe for the, you know, a championship match. I'm just talking getting on the grounds day, which is, look, it's a fantastic experience. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's not, but, you know, when the face value of the ticket is $65 or something like that just to get on the property, and you can have your pick of the litter all day, walk around, enjoy the experience, drop in on all the courts and all the action. But if you missed out on the original sale and now you go on the secondary market and you're being asked to pay upwards of, you know, $350, $400 for a ticket, I mean, that's a little outlandish. And I know that the USTA can't really do anything about the secondary market, but maybe do a little bit better job of regulating the whole process so the people that actually want to get in and aren't going to be priced out by, you know, the rich crowd and, you know, the socialites and people that just want to, you know, descend upon this stuff just because it's, you know, the place to be, and they could take pictures and put it on Instagram and make TikToks and, you know, with their $25 honey-do drink and all these other things that the U.S. Open has to offer. It just thinks that, you know, the average fan is now getting priced out of something like this, which is not the way that it's supposed to be. Anyways, 800-919-3776. Let's say hi to Will in Jersey City, who is up next here on ESPN New York. What's up, Will? How we doing?
Hey, how are you guys?
Good, Will. What's going on?
So I have a long-time Yankee fan, right? I love the Yankees. But the one thing is that I think that's what's going on with the media, especially listening to the analysts and the broadcaster calling the game, including our own Michael Kay. It seems like now the media is now flipping on Jazz Chisholm, right? They're flipping on him. And a guy like Anthony Volpe, right? I love Anthony to death. But a guy like Anthony Volpe, we gave him 3 years. This guy that we're talking about, Jazz Chisholm, is not a guy that just came into the major league. He's a 2-3-time All-Star. He's gotten 20-plus home runs. He's gotten 30 home runs. He's going to get it done. His style, not a fan of. But the thing is, the kid could play. He's a really good athlete. But what we're doing right now is we're setting it up to get Jazz out of New York, and you already know who's going to be our second baseman in 2027.
Who? Anthony Volpe?
Who? Anthony. That's the way this book is being written. Anthony Volpe will be our second baseman in 2027, right? And because our organization does not want to admit that we made a mistake, right? So now we're trying to get Jazz out of here. Unless if Jazz becomes a playoff hero, Jazz will now be back in New York. Anthony Volpe will be our second baseman in 2027.
Here's the thing, and I know that there's kind of like a conspiracy theory, which is like kind of trending in that direction, and thanks a lot for the phone call. Here's what I'll say. You can't argue with the production or lack thereof of Jazz Chisholm this year. You can't. Okay, he's having, offensively, without question, the worst season of his career. Without question. I mean, I'll look it up right now. His OPS this year is at 684. 684. Last 2 years as a member of the New York Yankees, 825, 813. He's down to 684. You're talking about almost 150 points less compared to what we've seen him do in this uniform. And now that he's a free agent, you're going to sit there and pay this guy off of a season like this? No. Now, I'm not going to sit here and also say that they're going to just absolutely, no doubt, hand over the second base job to Anthony Volpe. If you want to say maybe he's going to have an opportunity to compete for the job, maybe, but they'll probably bring in somebody else to vie for that position, because I think that would be, I understand that there's this groundswell of an opinion that the Yankees are so reluctant to admit their mistake with Volpe. And he keeps getting chance after chance after chance after chance. Look at what's happened already this year, right? If that was and look, I'm not sitting here being a Yankee apologist in any way, because I'm not that at all. I have no ties to the Yankees, none. But think about what happened early in the season. He was ready to play. He was ready to get called up. And the Yankees told him, no, things are going so well right now with the guys that we have, you're going to stay down in the minor leagues until we're good and ready for you. Okay? If they were so reluctant to admit a mistake and they keep wanting to give them chance after chance after chance, that would have been example number one this year, that they were doing that if they called them up right away. Number two is the fact that they just sent him down to the minor leagues again, which is where he's playing right now. So I don't necessarily believe that they're tied to him for the future. If they feel that there's a better option for them moving forward, they're going to go out there and bring in a player that they think could get the job done better. Now, I don't think Jazz is coming back. I think that they're going to cut ties at the end of the year. Unless something happens like Will said, if he hits, some Aaron Boone type walk-off home run to put the Yankees in the World Series and he becomes, like a postseason hero or something like that. But everybody still has a price. You're not going to go above and beyond what you should pay a player, especially one that's entering the part of the career that Jazz is, where he's, going to be a 30-year-old player, and you wonder, how much quality baseball that he still has left for what you're asking him to do. I don't know if you've been paying attention to what's been happening in the minor leagues, by the way, but, talk about another guy, Jason Dominguez has been god-awful down in the minor leagues. I think he's 2 for his last 29. So normally when you send guys down to the minor leagues, guys who are big leaguers, guys who are big prospects, you think that maybe, a demotion down to the minor leagues would give them, a little kick in the you-know-what, put some pep in their step, and force them to maybe perform at a high level. It's not happening with the Martian, I'll tell you that. So that's another guy that you could throw into the conversation as to, okay, how much longer is the leash going to be for him as far as the Yankees are concerned? How much more value does Jason Dominguez have for the New York Yankees compared to what they thought he should have been? With the Martian nickname and the $5 million signing bonus and all this other stuff when they, got him into the organization. All that stuff has to be factored in here. And it's nice that we could sit here and also talk in absolutes about what next season's going to look like, because I think I speak for everybody listening right now that's a baseball fan. I don't care what team you pull for. We hope that there's a next season, or as, the closest thing that possibly resembles a full season in 2027 with all this labor garbage that is certainly going to be swirling in the air. All right, when we come back, we're going to pivot, switch gears, talk a little football, because tonight, Game 2 for the New York Jets. They will be in Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. That is where we will find our good pal Rich Cimini, who covers the Jets for us, of course, at ESPN. He joins us coming up next. Grass is sitting in till 1 today on this Friday on ESPN New York.
D'Agostino, Law, Bite Back. This is John D'Agostino from D'Agostino & Associates, and I know how a serious accident can change your life just like that.
I'm Jenna D'Agostino, and I understand that with pain comes medical bills and time out of work. Let us get you justice.
This is John Ryan, the closer. For over 35 years, our family has been getting accident victims every dollar they deserve.
I started this firm for the injured so they can bite back against the insurance companies.
Our legacy is to get you justice. Bite back.
To get you paid. Bite back.
At D'Agostino & Associates, bite back means fight back. When you're hurt and they blame you, we bite back and get you every dollar you deserve. We have offices throughout New York and New Jersey, so call us first at 1-800-BITE-BACK. That's 1-800-248-3222. 1-800-248-3222. I've been there, and I'll be there for you.
There are a million reasons to love New York. Making your budget stretch isn't one of them. According to an independent study, Amazon prices average 14% lower than other retailers. Get food, fashion, furniture, and more shipped straight to your building. Plus, another study found Amazon Prescription Pass customers pay nearly 1/3 less out of pocket. Learn more at aboutamazon.com.
Mornings with DiPietro and Rothenberg.
I firmly believe I have the coach. I less believe, but still believe I have the quarterback. And if you tell me a team has a coach and a quarterback, you know what? I believe that they can do something special. I think Harbaugh is a really good coach, and he will build this into a championship team.
DiPietro and Rothenberg, morning 6 to 10 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube.
At Uline, they know going the extra mile takes hard work. For companies pushing to go further, Uline will go the distance with you. 24/7, they answer the phone to get you the shipping and industrial supplies you need. Business can move fast. Unexpected large orders, adverse weather, new safety guidelines, and changing economic trends. Uline works hard keeping 41,000 items ready to ship, minimizing detours on your way to the extra mile. Visit uline.com.
Everyone needs to take care of their mental health, even running back Bijan Robinson.
When I'm on the field and feeling the pressure, I usually just take a deep breath. When I'm just breathing and seeing what's in front of me, everything just slows down. It just makes me feel great before I run the play.
Just like Bijan, we all need a strong mental game on and off the field. Make a game plan for your mental health at loveyourmindplaybook.org.
Love your mind.
Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation, the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation, and the Ad Council.
I'm David Ortiz. When I lost my mom, she was only 46, and I lost my dad to cancer. It was the worst pain I ever felt. It made me think, what will happen with the people I love when my time is up? That's why I have life insurance. Ethos makes it easy. It's all online, take about 10 minutes, and you can get up to $3 million in coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/game. That's ethos.com/game. Paid testimonial. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
ESPN New York is your home for the world champion New York Knicks. WHSQ and WCBS-FM HD2, New York.
All right, it is hour number 2 on this Friday. Grassa sitting in with you here on ESPN New York at 800-919-3776. Game number 2 of the preseason for the New York Jets tonight. They are on the road. They will be in Pittsburgh, which is where we check in now with our next guest. He, of course, covers the Jets for us here at ESPN. He does an outstanding job at that. Is my good friend, Rich Cimini, who can't contain himself for the excitement of tonight's preseason affair. Rich, how we doing this morning, buddy?
Hey, Dan. Good to talk with you. And, yeah, preseason football. We're in the thick of it right now. And this is probably the most important game because the starters will play the most, and they probably won't play next Friday against the Giants. So this is as good as it gets in the preseason.
As good as it gets. Like you said, this used to be our old third preseason game, if you will, with the starters playing, but now that's reserved for preseason game number 2. And by all accounts, we thought we were going to see Geno Smith piloting the first-team offense last Friday until things kind of changed there close to kickoff. But tonight, if nothing else changes, we are going to see number 7 back under center for his second go-round with the Jets. And I know it's preseason, but how important do you think the opportunity is going to be tonight for him and this offense to get some continuity going out there on the field?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't expect him to play a whole lot. My understanding is that he'll play a series or two. And he's been kind of up and down in training camp. Geno's had some really good days. And, he had a couple of, days against the Buccaneers and those joint practices that weren't so great. And so I think they're just, hey, look, it's a new system. Frank Reich's installing this offense. There's going to be growing pains. They're going through it right now. So anytime you can get your starting quarterback in there with the rest of the starters, just in terms of just the operation, he's, Frank Reich is up in the booth calling plays. So that'll be something different. Geno's a guy who is accustomed to playing in the preseason. If you look at his recent history, he always played with the Seahawks and Raiders. So I know he wants to be out there. He's got the ankle. I don't think it's 100%, but even after tonight, he'll still have 3 weeks to get it ready to go for the Titans. So I think so it'll be good to see him out there for a series or two.
A lot of people were kind of surprised that, Cade Klubnik only got those 2 drives last week, even as he was the surprise starter there. I think it's safe to assume he's going to get a little bit of a longer look tonight, even if it is going to be, let's say, primarily with the backups.
Yeah, I would hope so. I really wanted to see him more last week. I mean, it was 2 series, 2 scoring drives, and I know every Jet fan probably felt the same way. You wanted to see him a lot more than Bailey Zappi or certainly Brady Cook. So, yes, he will play more tonight. I wouldn't be totally shocked if he caught a series with the starting group. Maybe if it's Geno for 2 series, maybe Cade gets a series with the starters. Wouldn't be totally shocked by that. The starters only played 11 snaps last week, and I know Aaron Glenn said going into this he wanted to get the starters about 25 to 30 snaps. So I guess it depends on how those first 2 series go. But, you want to see – I mean, he's going to be their backup, Dan. I think we know that. We've seen him play, reasonably well throughout the summer, and you want your backup, especially a rookie, to get as many reps as possible.
No doubt about that, and that leads me to my next question, too, because I was going to say, do you think that we've seen enough already to completely just extinguish the possibility of Darren Muji wanting to go out and bringing in a veteran arm that, might become expendable on some of the roster? I mean, we looked at Pittsburgh as maybe being one of those teams because they have 4 quarterbacks. Do you think that Cade Klubnik has done enough to completely eliminate the search for maybe a veteran quarterback to join this room?
Well, personally, no, I don't think he has. I've been pretty upfront, transparent since the beginning. I would have brought in a veteran backup in the offseason. That's just my own personal feeling. But I think the Jets' plan going into this was to give Klubnik every opportunity to win this job. I think basically it was his job to lose, and he hasn't. And unless he falls flat on his face tonight, I do think he'll go into the season as the backup quarterback. But I would never rule out the possibility of a veteran. We know Muji is very aggressive when it comes to pro personnel. He's made, I think, 13 player trades in the last 12 months. So you can never rule that out. And you did bring up a very interesting scenario. Pittsburgh has 4. I do think they're going to keep Mason Rudolph as the backup, but tonight they're starting Will Howard and Drew Aller. I think is really important for Will Howard. I mean, if he has a bad game, I guess there's a possibility he could get released, but I'm not so sure he'd be an upgrade over Cade Klubnik. I don't think the Jets would think that way either, but if Klubnik plays the way they think he can tonight, then I think he'll probably sew up the backup job.
Interesting. Rich Cimini joining us here on ESPN New York. I guess they dodged a bullet is the best way to put it with the Breece Hall injury earlier this week. And I remember, we had just gotten on the air and began the show. Was that back on Monday? And, reading your tweets from practice about Breece Hall just went down untouched. And, every Jet fan had a lump in their throat when they saw that. But, I guess worst case scenario avoided. Maybe it's not the biggest issue moving forward as far as how they're going to distribute carries with the running backs the rest of camp, but if Breece Hall's out, Isaiah Davis is still down, they're not going to likely run Braylon Allen into the ground over the final 2 weeks, are they?
No, and nor should they. I mean, because he's going to play an important role, especially early in the season. I mean, you're not going to want to give Breece Hall 25 carries in Tennessee for the opener, coming off a groin injury. So they're going to really be leaning into Braylon Allen early in the season, and so I'd have him on a pitch count tonight for sure. And so you'll see a lot of Kenny Nwangu, I think, tonight. That's for sure. They got the 2 rookies, Scott and Trainaman. Scott's been somewhat impressive. I think he showed some things last week. The kid out of Wyoming. So I think you'll see those guys battling it out tonight. It'll be a heavy workload for those 2.
Kenyon Sadiq is a guy who, unfortunately has had some starts and stops since he's been drafted, right? And in recuperating from the groin surgery, and then he looked good to start camp, and then all of a sudden he had the setback and he's sidelined again, but he's getting closer. So much hope, so much promise for him, the matchup problem he could be on offense. I guess, is there any way to sort of figure out just how much of a loss this has been for him in terms of how he's going to be utilized now to start the season because, he's having to play catch-up here significantly?
Yeah, significantly, because he missed the offseason. He had 3 practices at the beginning of training camp, which were not in pads. And then, so since being drafted, he's only had 3 practices with his teammates. So I know he's out there every day. He's taking the mental reps, but there's nothing quite like game action and learning, from being on the field and in the huddle. And so he's missed all that. So there's going to be, a pretty steep learning curve for him as he gets used to this. Now, they say he's going to be ready for opening day. I think the question is, how much of an impact could he really make? I think they'll probably go into that game with a small package of plays for him. They're not going to want to overburden him. But they do see him as a really versatile guy who could line up in a number of different places in the formation. So I don't think they want to totally disregard him, but I think they want to be smart about it and just give him a small package of plays for that Tennessee game.
The third of the first-round picks, Omar Cooper Jr., hasn't necessarily flashed as much as maybe some fans would want him to at this point of camp. Do we sit here and do you want to term it, Rich, as, he's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start, or let's give credit to Isaiah Williams, who's had a phenomenal camp here and has earned the right to have those reps and opportunities?
Yeah, I mean, if you're running a true meritocracy, that you definitely want to reward the guys who are playing the best. And right now, Isaiah Williams is one of the 3 best receivers, so he's been getting the reps there. And, Cooper's had some lulls in camp. I think the coaches would admit that. They have admitted that. So, but that's not unusual for a rookie receiver coming in. The Indiana offense is a little, significantly different from what the Jets are running. And so there's some route running adjustments he has to make, some technique adjustments. And so maybe it's a little bit of a slow start, but I wouldn't draw any conclusions on a rookie first-round receiver after, 13 practices. I think there's still a long way to go for him. He has not flashed like in any sort of spectacular way. I think he's been solid, but certainly a guy they expect to, continue to ascend as the season goes on.
Can we draw any conclusions yet? Are you prepared to draw any conclusions on one David Bailey as to what his rookie season and possibly Jet career has in store?
Well, he's an exciting player. I mean, I think other than Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, when they get the ball, I mean, watching Bailey is excitement, because he can make a play at any time, and you really didn't see a whole lot of it. He only played 8 snaps against the Bucs. Didn't really make any impact plays. I think he had 1 quarterback pressure and 1 tackle. It was nothing like we've seen on the practice field. And so he's going through his own little learning curve as well. But, the first step quickness is there. The acceleration, the burst toward the quarterback is there. He's just got to learn some little nuanced things, maybe get a little stronger against the run. But he is a starter. I mean, there is no bringing him along slowly. He will be out there with the starters, snap 1 in Tennessee, and he will play a whole lot, that's for sure.
As an aside, I don't know if you saw this, Rich, but Luke Gedicke, who's the right tackle for the Tampa Bay Bucs, when they were up here last week for the joint practices, he had his hands full with Bailey. And, just this week, I saw that he was getting taken to school by Reuben Bain, another first-round pass rusher that Tampa Bay picked there. So he's tired of these first-round rookies, you know what I'm saying, Rich?
Reuben Bain's a good player. I mean,
yeah.
I think we knew that. We knew that from watching his college games, but watching him in person at the Jets they got a good one there. He's going to be a very good player as well.
No doubt about it. When I look at this defense right now, I think the area that certainly, you scratch your head a little bit to see how it sort of plays itself out, and I'm sure they're wondering as well, is that corner position. Because, you have a couple of guys who've been nicked up and haven't gotten on the field in Nashawn Wright and D'Angelo Pons, another rookie. I mean, are you kind of curious as to how this whole situation is going to play itself out? Because still a lot of question marks with some of these guys.
And safety, too, I would throw in there. Yeah, so the injuries really thwarted any hope of a positional battle. We thought it was going to be Brownlee versus Pons for nickel. That has not materialized because of the injury, and we thought it was going to be Wright versus Thomas for the outside corner. That hasn't materialized because of injury. And so, yeah, the secondary to me is the biggest question on the defense without no doubt. I mean, the only proven guy really back there, in my opinion, is Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think Cisco and Belton are locked in a 50-50 battle there for the second safety spot. That could go either way. Wouldn't be shocked if Belton started tonight. They've been going back and forth. So I think he's made more plays in practice than Cisco, so that's something to keep an eye on. And the corners are, I think they're going to be playing a lot more man coverage this year. That's just the way Aaron Glenn calls the defense. He's very aggressive. He likes to blitz. And so I wonder about A.Z. Thomas and Brandon Stevens about how they're going to hold up on a down-to-down basis with a lot of man coverage.
We're talking with Rich Cimini here on ESPN New York. A lot has been made of, year two under Aaron Glenn, and he's been very reflective as to what he would like to do differently compared to last year. Obviously win more games. I mean, I think that's a given. But just in terms of him being a head coach and the mistakes that he made in year one as a rookie coach, and yes, he's running the defense now, and a lot is going to certainly be drawn from that as to how they perform week in and week out. But, I think we see a different Aaron Glenn in terms of talking to us and the media, Rich, and, certainly other aspects. Is it too early to tell that this is a different head coach in year number two, or is the ultimate verdict going to be what happens on Sundays?
Well, I mean, you're graded by wins and losses. That's the ultimate grading system. So, but he is different and more relaxed, I think. I think part of that is due to him being in control of the defense. He's issued a few mea culpas this offseason. I should have called the defense last season. That's like mistake number one, he admitted. I think, now he hasn't admitted this, but I think he would, hiring a rookie offensive coordinator last year was a mistake. So I think he feels really comfortable with Frank Reich, and he trusts Reich to run the offense. So I think that has kind of made him a little bit more relaxed. He can just concentrate on the defense and the team in general. So, yeah, he does seem more relaxed. I think it was a different training camp. It was a lighter camp. I think they might have had one or two fewer practices. The practices were shorter. There was an emphasis on load management. I think he's really incorporated sports science into a lot of these decisions, trying to preserve his players, get the most out of them for the course of the season. So, yeah, I definitely a different Aaron Glenn. But like you said, Dan, none of this matters unless you win football games.
No doubt about that. Lastly, is there a guy who maybe has vaulted onto your radar that maybe you weren't expecting much? Could be, one of these undrafted guys or whoever coming into camp that may put himself in a position to actually be a big factor, on this team once the regular season ggets underway.
Well, yeah, but then he got hurt. The celebrated Mo Bamba from last week, at the Tampa Bay game with 4 PBUs and a tackle on special teams. He really had a eye-opening performance. And then we walk out to practice a couple of days later, and there he is walking around with a brace on his knee. And we're like, what happened? So he would have been a very, very, now he's not going to play for the rest of the preseason. I suspect he'll end up on the practice squad or some type of injured reserve. But he would have been a guy who really was jumping out. As for other guys, like I mentioned, the running backs, Scott from Wyoming has jumped out to me. I think who else has jumped out? That's kind of it. I mean,
Jelani Woods.
Jelani Woods, I think he's definitely in the mix to make the team. I think they could end up carrying 4 tight ends. Frank Reich, of course, knows him from Indianapolis, so that works in his benefit. I think he's in a real good position to make the team. I don't think he's a lock yet, but I think could be on his way. A couple of bubble players that I'll be looking at tonight. Arian Smith, 4th-round pick a year ago, really hasn't developed that quickly as a receiver. He's had some drop issues. He had one in the game last week, but he's a really good special teams player. He's a gunner. And so, I think he'll make the team because of special teams value, but, he just hasn't really developed as a receiver. So I'd be very curious to see how he goes. And so those are just a couple of the guys I think are, Cisco, I think he'll make the team because of his veteran presence. But would it shock me if he was a surprise cut on the cut down? It would not, no.
I'll tell you another one, Rich. I think it's safe to say, hopefully Inez Cooper gets out there before the third teamers and shows a little bit more because, he's I know it's a small sample size, but he's impressive. And, he was one of those guys, one of those, day 3 picks that when they got him, the offensive guard from Miami, you're thinking, maybe you got something here. He was good last year for the Canes. And certainly, when he's gotten an opportunity this season, he's a tough guy to move.
Yeah, he played with the threes last week. I know he's a vocal guy on the field. A lot of his teammates have said that he's one of the most prolific trash talkers. That was kind of his rep at Miami. But yeah, he's a guy. Now that you bring up an interesting point. It's the backup interior line is got some issues. So I mean, Xavier Newman's had some snapping issues. He's backing up Josh Myers. Max Mitchell's probably their number one backup tackle right now. So that would be one area, guard, Inez Cooper is promising, but very, very green at this point. It's the one area where I think Muji could look on the waiver wire, to perhaps bring in some veteran depth there on the offensive line because they were the only team in the league that had all 5 starters start every game last year. Highly unusual. What are the odds of that happening again? So offensive line depth is definitely a key issue.
Yeah, the irony, right? They had every guy start every game, and yet they only won 3 games. Thinking of how critical and how important that would be for any team, and yet unfortunately it didn't translate to much success elsewhere for the team the rest of the way. Rich, appreciate a couple of minutes this morning, my friend. Enjoyed that game tonight, and I'm sure I'll be seeing you next week back out at Florham Park.
We'll see you at One Jets Drive. Always good talking to you, Dan. Take care.
Thanks, Rich. There is the great Rich Cimini, of course, covers the Jets for us here at ESPN. And, I mean, it remains to be seen, how much play Geno gets tonight with the ones. Is it only going to be is he going to get the Cade Klubnik treatment from last week? Is he only going to play maybe 2 series just to get his feet wet, get a little rhythm? Perhaps. But then I think the guy that you're going to see play a healthy amount of snaps tonight, I think that's somebody that all Jet fans want to probably see out there is Cade Klubnik. I mean, that's who the month of August is tailored for. A rookie quarterback who's not a first rounder, not a second round, but still somebody that you hope to develop into something. Give him as long a look as possible here. So you want to see Klubnik a lot tonight. You'll see Klubnik a lot next week against the Giants in the 3rd preseason finale as well. And that's as it should be because, it may not seem like it's the high priority right now when we're, only into the 2nd preseason game. But if you're talking about a backup quarterback, as Rich and I were discussing there a little bit, the fact of the matter is everybody knows you're literally 1 play away potentially. And, when the Aaron Rodgers catastrophe happened a couple of years ago, 4 plays into the season, that year, the Jets' backup quarterback was a 3rd-year player who was a number 2 overall pick in the draft. The guy who had, flashed at times but was inconsistent, and they still felt okay that, he would be the guy should anything happen. Now, in their wildest dreams, they never would have thought 4 plays in they would have to turn to him for the entire season. And, we know what happened, unfortunately. He wasn't equipped for the job, and I mean, I lost count how many different Well, let's see. It was Zach. It was Tim Boyle. It was Trevor Siemian. I mean, they used – I think I even got a call to see if I wanted to get a couple snaps in because they just needed anything to try to make ends meet there. 800-919-3776. Little reaction to Rich's comments. We'll get into that when we return with you on the phones. And we're going to do a little sideline to sideline as we kick off the 2nd weekend of preseason football in and around the National Football League. Grasso with it. We roll till 1 on ESPN New York.
This is the Michael Kay Show.
Take a look around Major League Baseball, and the Yankees are a lot closer to perfect than most of the teams that are supposedly real championship contenders. And I'll say this with no equivocation whatsoever. If the Yankees were healthy with their running it back philosophy that everybody kicked around, they'd be running it back and running over the competition.
The Michael Kay Show, weekdays at 1 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube. Presented by the Parisman Firm.
Good Karma Brands is proud to be an equal opportunity employer, providing equal employment, development, and advancement opportunities to all teammates and applicants. To learn more about careers with us, please send an email to talentacquisition@karma.com. at goodkarmabrands.com. That's talent acquisition at goodkarmabrands.com.
There you were, surrounded by fans. Everybody remembers the game. Nobody remembers the guy coughing behind you. Till a few days later, at 2 a.m., you wake up with a fever and your throat's on fire. Now what? Urgent care? Closed. ER? Slammed. Telehealth? Maybe, but the pharmacy's closed. You needed a medical emergency kit. These aren't first aid kits. They contain essential prescriptions used for over 30 common conditions. Sinus and ear infection, UTIs, stomach bugs, traveler's diarrhea, and more on hand before you need them. Use your doctor-developed guidebook to select the right prescription or call their telemedicine doctor standing by. It's like an urgent care and drugstore at home. When you're sick, traveling, or stranded, you'll wish you'd ordered a medical emergency kit. Order online in minutes and it's shipped to your door. And save $45 with my promo code 880 at urgentcarekit.com/880. That's promo code 880 at urgentcarekit.com/880.
Calling hard seltzer lovers. Searching for the tastiest seltzer? Look no further. Neutral Vodka Seltzer is absolutely delicious. Made with real vodka and real juice, Neutral keeps it tasty with every sip. With flavors like peach, orange, strawberry, and pineapple, there's something for everyone. Neutral. Keep it tasty. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2026 Anheuser-Busch. Neutral flavored vodka and carbonation. 4.5% alcohol by volume. St. Louis, Missouri.
Cards for Kids. KARS Cards for Kids. 1-877 Cards for Kids. Donate your card today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
This is Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg.
There needs to be an intervention.
I agree.
And this is coming from a Met fan, and I get it. I'm not telling you to get rid of Mr. Met. He's a part of the fabric of the Mets, but you don't have to make him a part of every damn thing you do. The kids love it. Great. But when Senga's established himself as a closer, Steve Gelbis is trying to break news, we don't need to dance in Mr. Met as if like he's vital to everything that's going on.
Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg. Weekdays at 3 on 880 ESPN and the ESPN New York app.
That's the ease at which you get information. You want it, you get it. Like that. Ask your phone. Group chat. Smartphone. You're always connected and informed in real time. No waiting. So if you're diabetic and still using finger sticks to read your blood sugar, what are you waiting for? Knowing your blood sugar levels instantly is important for managing diabetes. Call US Med at 888-665-0696. To learn more about continuous glucose monitors, a real-time instant method to track your blood glucose, US Med is an approved provider for Medicare and over 1,000 private insurers. And the best part? Call 888-665-0696 and we'll give you a free insurance benefits check today. So call 888-665-0696 today. That's 888-665-0696 and manage your diabetes as easy as...
All right, big news for New York sports fans. DiPietro and Rothenberg, Don Hahn and Rosenberg, they are coming to MSG Networks. Yeah, starting Tuesday, September the 8th, catch our morning and afternoon shows simulcasted across MSG Networks television and digital platforms. You can still catch us, though, on 880 AM, ESPN New York's app, YouTube, and a heck of a lot more. But we're also very pumped to start simulcasting on MSG Networks, which gives our shows an even bigger platform to reach the fans. So don't miss out. It is all starting September the 8th on MSG Networks. That is a good thing. Grasso with you, 800-919-3776. That is the Telephone number. We'll do sideline to sideline in just a few moments. But right now, we say hi to Ira in Staten Island, who is all giddy for tonight's preseason game. Hello, Ira. How are you?
Oh, what's happening, Dan? Yeah, I can't wait for this this event.
Couldn't
tonight.
sleep last night.
No. I'm figuring out how to stop the Pittsburgh offense and all that stuff. But no. All kidding aside, hopefully I don't fall. Hopefully Klubnik plays into the fourth, so I get to hear you and Greg because I don't want to shut it off in the fourth quarter. But Rich is. I agree with most of his points. I'm still curious about this kicking competition. I always was a Jason Sanders fan. We'll see where this leads. But, with Mookie as a GM, it's a funny thing. You're close. You're dialed in with the team. You know what the deal is. But I just feel like Glenn and Mookie are on two different directions here, and it doesn't mean they don't get along. But Glenn needs to win now or show some type of improvement. And Mookie, he's going to get one more shot at getting a quarterback if Klubnik isn't the guy on some miracle. And he wants his younger players really to step up. And I think they have the nice roster. I still expect a 6 to 7 win season. I just don't know who's going to be left standing that last game. Is Geno going to be there or is it going to be Klubnik? And I think otherwise, would you say 51 of the 53 roster spots are pretty much penciled in?
I don't know about 51, but I would say at the very least probably, high 40s. Look, I think every year, as legend goes, and this is not just with the Jets, this is with every team. Once training camp begins, I think that the personnel department, the coaching staff, everybody, they probably have an idea of, at the very least, 45 to 47 of the guys who are going to make this team, and then you leave a handful of spots open for some that might flash and some that might, vault themselves onto the radar that you ordinarily wouldn't think would be there. And probably they're not too far off from that right now, Ira. There's always some wiggle room, and injuries can also affect how the numbers kind of shake out. But I wouldn't expect, and look, Rich and I were talking about it, I don't expect there to be too many that are just going to automatically, vault themselves onto this roster and play meaningful snaps for them. Like you saw, for example, there was more opportunity for that last year because I think you had a little bit of a younger roster. This season, I think with the veterans they brought in, I think we kind of know which way the wind is blowing here.
You were thinking, how lucky are they that they made the deal for Brownlee and they got him because with Pons, unfortunately, got hurt. But it looks like Brownlee's probably going to be your opening day nickel, I would think.
And Brownlee's, I personally like him a lot, Ira. And thanks a lot for the phone call, as always. Brownlee, getting to know him a little bit after they acquired him from Tennessee last season. And that's another guy who's going to have that Week 1 game circled, certainly, to get back to Tennessee. But he plays with a little ferocity at that nickel position. And unfortunately, it also, when them getting Brownlee, it came at the expense of another one of my favorites, Michael Carter II, who was essentially, holding down that nickel spot there. And, he was drafted by the previous coaching staff with Saleh and Joe Douglas. And, I guess wasn't a scheme fit for what Aaron Glenn and company wanted to do defensively. So they traded him to Philadelphia and gave Brownlee the opportunity. Then Brownlee got hurt. It was on Thanksgiving Day at practice, believe it or not, is when he injured that hip, and then we didn't see him again the rest of the season. And then when Pons was drafted, you thought that, well, what does that mean for Brownlee? Is he going to be somebody that's now in a reserve role? But Pons not being on the field has given an opportunity to Brownlee, and who knows? You might even see, when Pons is healthy, you might see them both on the field at the same time. Pons can play outside. Did it with Indiana. Just because he's a smallish corner, it doesn't mean anything. He played on the outside quite a bit for a national championship team, and let's not forget the head coach was an outside corner during his Pro Bowl playing career, and his size not much different than D'Angelo Pons. So it can be done even in today's NFL. But yeah, those guys, if you're asking me in the secondary, they just got to get on the field. These corners, Wright, who they got from the Bears, and Pons, they got to play. Because a lot is going to be expected from them. And I know that there's a lot of question mark with the secondary this year in the cornerback position. But what I think is going to help them, and no doubt it will help them, is that if this pass rush is able to get home with regularity a lot more so than they did last year, that's a lot less time you're asking your guys to cover on the back end, and that'll make their job a lot easier. And maybe, just maybe, you start to get a few picks and turnovers and, balls going the other way to help out your defense and to give the offense a lot shorter field when it comes to what they have to work with here. All right, 800-919-3776. As we said, we're going to talk Giants with Jordan coming up at noon. Find out what's going on down there in Miami as they get ready to lock horns with the Fish coming up on Saturday afternoon. But there are other things happening in the NFL. It's not just Jets and Giants. And with that, we turn things over to our good friend. His name is Tom Bauer, and he is going to give you sideline to sideline.
It's going to happen. This is Sideline to Sideline. Go.
Yeah. Let's keep talking some football here, Dan.
And I have a lot of high hopes, by the way, for this sideline to sideline. You know why?
You do? Why is that?
Because this is your last sideline to sideline before you take yet another vacation.
Oh, that's right.
So you're probably free, you're relaxed, you don't have a weight on your shoulders at all. You're just going to go out there and deliver just chock full of football nuggets that are going to send everybody off into the weekend happy.
I'm glad you have such high hopes for me, because usually when I hit the airwaves, I fill people with disappointment, I think. So
I don't sense that at all. What I am shocked, and I said this earlier, in our little pre-show meeting, and I don't know, maybe Ray even has some answers. Like, you basically were just hobnobbing up and down the West Coast, going to baseball games and all this other stuff, and now you're taking another luxurious vacation. How did you get all this vacation time is what I want to know.
The same way that Rick and Dave get all these comp days around here is the same way I get vacation time.
I mean, I got to start hanging out with you when it comes to getting time off. My gosh, who do you know?
Oh, I know many people, but
apparently,
we'll get you in the good old texting chain thread and try and get you some more vacation time around here, Daniel. But
much appreciated.
But speaking of Dave and Rick, on DNR this morning, featuring Gary Myers, Chris Mara was one of the esteemed guests on the program, and he had some expectations for his team, the New York Giants, in 2026.
I think, the way I look at it is we've had this, we've used the word hope in the last 10, 12 years, whatever it might be, and that, I think the hope now has turned into expectations. At least for me, it has. I don't hope we win this year. I expect it, and I think everybody else does too.
I'm glad that that's a good expectation, because certainly fans such as myself feel that's definitely going to be the case, is high expectations. But why do you think things will change so quickly?
Well, I think we had a really good offseason, draft-wise and free agent-wise. This is by far the biggest team I've ever seen in Giant uniform. Ranging from, there's no more little guys on this team. They're all big, strong, and tough, which I like, especially, the way Harbaugh likes to run the ball, as he has in the past. And that's great for especially our stadium when it comes to, November, December. Hopefully I expect to be playing games that mean something late in the season. So, we're kind of this is a different animal.
I think what he's trying to say there is bye-bye Tyrone Tracy. Hello, Patrick Ricard. We got all these strong guys joining the team.
When they get off the bus, it's a different-looking Giant team this year. And that's the vision that Harbaugh had. And, look, it's going to have to translate on Sundays, as we know. But they look the part. And I'll tell you, they certainly are getting in the work and putting in the hours during training camp, because Giants might be practicing as much, if not more, than any other team in the NFL. And we brought this up over the last few weeks. I mean, even contrasting it to what the Jets' practice schedule is like, and to each his own. But Harbaugh's putting these guys to work, and we'll get into it with Jordan when we talk to him in a little bit here. But a few of the players yesterday, after the joint practice with Miami, they were saying that part of the reason why they were acclimated so well to the heat and the conditions and everything down there is because Harbaugh prepared them for that. Practicing in West Virginia, and the Giants practice in the afternoons, too, when the sun and the heat is at its worst.
And there's even a number I'm sure you'll bring up at some point out there that somebody's been logging the amount of practices that the Giants have had. Like, say, in the past, I don't remember what it was exactly, like 22 days, and compare that to how many practices Brian Daboll ran as the head coach of the team last year. It was a major difference, let's just say. So I'm hoping that John Harbaugh's, I think some people call him, has these guys ready for the regular season. Now, Speaking of ready for the regular season, the Las Vegas Raiders sure might be ready for the regular season. Fernando Mendoza probably not so much as the starting quarterback. 8 of 15 last night in the Raiders' win against the Houston Texans, an all-important preseason victory. Threw for 86 yards and a pick-6 interception that went for pretty much as many yards as Fernando Mendoza threw for. 80-yard pick-6 by the Texans. Mendoza throwing for 86 yards on the night there. Big night for Aiden O'Connell, 166 yards. Good for him as the third stringer for the Las Vegas Raiders. But we'll get your thoughts on Fernando Mendoza if you have any, Dan. But you mentioned this morning, and I found this very interesting, how the Raiders apparently have the gall to ask for a $158 million improvement to their stadium. It's like 5 years from when they were moved from building it. So Adam Schefter reported about this yesterday. They're going to be hosting Super Bowl 63. Good for them. Congratulations. $158 million improvement they want, which will create a new front door for the stadium, which includes the following. It's very costly. A pedestrian deck, public plaza, event deck, and other transportation improvements. Hell to the yeah. They're seeking $75 million from the LVSA, which would come from an existing taxpayer fund allocated to Allegiant Stadium-related improvements and would privately fund the remainder.
Let me tell you something. I don't claim to be a architectural expert. I'm not, But I do dabble in design every so often.
Dabble or dabble in the design?
No, this is a dabble.
Okay.
It's a dabble situation. If Mark Davis or anybody else out there with the Vegas Raiders wants to give me a holler and consult with me, I could probably design and come up with a brand spanking new front door, a lot more economically friendly than $158 million. I could probably get you a front door for $58. And it'll be nice and shiny and clean. I'll even throw in one of those fancy Ring doorbells for you. How about that? Now, people are going to have to be patient because it's going to be just, a one-person entry at a time. But nevertheless, if you don't want to spend $158 million or milk your taxpayers for all that money, you know what? I could probably do things a little bit more accommodating for you. How about that?
Save money, live better. Dan Grasso.
Absolutely.
That's what we're saying here.
It's a front door. What are we doing? But isn't it amazing? They just opened the stadium 5 minutes ago, and now you're saying, oh, you know what? We got to redo the front door. Where's another $150 million coming from?
Yeah, maybe you should have thought about that 5 years ago.
How do you mess up the front door? The entrance. That should be the first thing you think. Well, how do people get into the stadium? If the people don't come into the stadium, then there's no point of having a stadium because nobody could see what's actually going on in the stadium, right? I'm not crazy.
As if people actually want to see what's going on with the Raiders because they suck.
Well, they've had a Super Bowl, right? They already had a Super Bowl there. You said they're having another one in a couple of years. They have other big events there and all that other stuff, but we're already having to blow up the project, or at least an element of the project, less than 10 years in?
It's not what you want there, Dan.
Oh.
So there's one more thing I want to play from the Raiders last night, and this happened on the ESPN broadcast. By the way, debuted some new graphics. They look nice and pretty and shiny.
You like the score bug?
Oh, I'm a big fan of the score bug. I kind of geek out over all the changes that all the networks make with the score bugs. Big fan of the ESPN one. But I'm not talking about the score bug anymore. I'm going to talk a little bit more about Fernando Mendoza, and here's why. He is a big fan of Joe Buck, as heard on last night's broadcast.
Thank you. Please do. And please tell Mr. Buck I say hello.
Oh, we love it. There you go. What about Mr. Aikman?
Oh, of course. I mean, he's a legend, I think Mr. Buck needs some more love because, Mr. Aikman's already,
Well said, Fernando. You nailed it.
Thank you. God bless.
Back to you guys.
See, there it is. Back to Mr. Buck. That's the stuff. I mean, he is unique.
He's unique, all right. Dan, I'm pretty sure other people will have shared this opinion, and I'm just going to echo it. The next Jameis Winston in the making right here, Fernando Mendoza, in terms of just overall personality.
Obviously he's been playing football, and he's been in, locker rooms for a while, playing college at a high level, now in the NFL. So, I was going to say now he's playing with men. He played with men in Indiana, too, because the average age of that team was about 25 with all those Fugazi college rules. But nevertheless, look, he's genuine. He is who he is. He's a smart kid. I mean, he graduated Cal in 3 years, for crying out loud. He's a smart guy. Let him be who he is. And you know this, at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to matter is, can he throw the football? Can he help the Raiders win games? Because if he doesn't, they're going to move on from him. And the league is going to be done with him if he's not going to be successful as a quarterback helping teams be victorious. Because that's all this thing is about at the end of the day.
And hopefully for Fernando, Joe Buck will be calling more of his games in the near future. But the Raiders have to get good before that ever happens, probably.
That's fair.
I got one more for you, and this happens to pertain to all the joint practices that are going on, specifically one player's angle on them, and that player is Saquon Barkley, who is, let's just say, not a big fan of the whole joint practice thing that happens around the NFL.
I hate joint practice, to be honest. I think one day's good, but we play in a ego-filled sport with a lot of men, and I'm all about just putting the work in, and it's good to go against someone new. I think we're at that part of camp where we needed to go against a new face. Honestly, I'm not really a fan of joint practice. More times than not, nothing good comes out of it. Like, you get when you have the work, it's good, but then you get the push in, the shove in, and someone say this about you, and I'm like, oh no, but I'm not that. You're this, and just like, it's immature when we get to that level. I gotta do a better job too, because I'm a little troublemaker sometimes, but I was good this week.
Yeah, a little troublemaker, Saquon Barkley. A little traitor, Saquon Barkley. That's what I like to say. But he might have a point there about the joint practices, Dan, because we were talking about this earlier. They might go bye-bye possibly next year if teams continue to throw all these fisticuffs around. Although I feel like that's been a thing going on forever, so what do I know?
Not for nothing. I know it sounds simplistic, but I'm going to echo, a phrase that a lot of coaches and people like to use. How you get good at football? By practicing football and playing football, just like with anything, right? So let's see. Guys don't want to play anymore in the preseason, right? Some of these teams, the practice schedule during the preseason is night and day lighter than it used to be. So now they incorporate these joint practices to where it can actually be controlled. Both teams actually, can sit there and manipulate what they want to happen, but you have teams going up against each other that aren't your own, right? So you kind of preserve them in that sense. And yet there's still guys that have issues with the joint practices. Like, I don't get what they want. Like, I guess to put it simplistically, my question would be, like, do you guys want to play football at all? Like, is that all you want? You just want to show up on Sundays in September and throughout the fall and just play on Sundays? No practice, no nothing. No. What's going to be next? They don't want to watch film. They don't want to have meetings. Like, I can't make them, I can't spell it out anymore for them, Tom. I don't know what to do.
I don't know what to do either, but this makes me happy that Harbs is practicing the guys so much because, practice makes perfect, and hopefully the Giants will be perfect this season. This is when you're supposed
to kind of, establish that foundation, right? It's called training camp, to train for the season. This is where you're supposed to get all that stuff ironed out, build up those calluses, as they say. So when you get to November and December, you're still, got something left in the tank. You could deal with adversity, all those type of things. I guess nothing surprises me anymore.
As it shouldn't. All the callous building that we just did on sideline to sideline, that's come to an end.
And Tom, I think it was one of your best. I told you it would be before you head off onto that fancy vacation. Thank you, much appreciated. We'll talk to Jordan Raanan coming up in about 15 minutes. A little Giant football as well there. Grassa with you till 1 on this Friday here in ESPN New York.
ESPN New York and MSG Network are joining forces.
Big news, Jazz hands.
Start your mornings with DiPietro and Rothenberg, live on the MSG Network. Then stick around for Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg, live on MSG every afternoon.
We are beyond excited to start simulcasting on MSG Networks.
So think about this real quick second. You got us in the morning 6 to 10. You got our afternoon show 3 to 7. And then right after that, you're talking Knicks, you're talking Rangers.
Oh yeah. You wake up, you pop it on again, and there we are, waiting for you. Good morning.
ESPN New York and MSG Network, together like never before. It all starts Tuesday, September 8th.
There are a million reasons to love New York. Making your budget stretch isn't one of them. According to an independent study, Amazon prices average 14% lower than other retailers. Get food, fashion, furniture, and more shipped straight to your building. Plus, another study found Amazon Prescription Pass customers pay nearly 1/3 less out of pocket. Learn more at aboutamazon.com.
D'Agostino Law Bite Back. This is John D'Agostino from D'Agostino & Associates. Did you know Social Security takes money out of every paycheck you earn? Paycheck after paycheck. And you're not supposed to touch that money until you're 67? What if you can't work? What if you need that money now? The system is challenging and most people get denied. That's a fact. D'Agostino & Associates has the experience to win, and we win a lot. If you filed for Social Security disability benefits and were denied, let us appeal. Call us first at 1-800-BITE-BACK. Bite Back means fight back. 1-800-248-3222. We'll fight to get you paid. D'Agostino & Associates has offices throughout New York and New Jersey and handles Social Security disability claims and appeals. Remember, if you've been denied, call us first. 1-800-BITE-BACK. That's 1-800-248-3222. D'Agostino & Associates. We win a lot.
Hi, this is Don LaGreca. Just like the New Jersey Devils bring intensity on the ice, Viking Pest Control brings the same level of protection to your home. And I know because I use Viking at my own place. The season may be over, but pests are always in play. So it's time to lock in your off-season defense. As the pest control provider and proud partner of the Devils, Viking delivers 45 years of trusted experience to keep ants, cockroaches, stinging insects, rodents, mosquitoes, and more out of your zone. And when you bundle pest control mosquito services, you score big savings. One call, one company, total peace of mind. Visit VikingPest.com, protecting your home inside and out.
Hey, New York and New Jersey, Boost Mobile has an unlimited talk, text, and data plan that's only $25 a month forever, meaning you'll only ever pay $25 a month for the rest of your life. Who wouldn't want unlimited wireless when it only costs $25 a month forever? If you don't, you must be one of those people who enjoy overpaying for their phone plan. $25 a month forever is truly as good as it gets, so go online and switch now at boostmobile.com. After 30 gigabytes, customers may experience slower speeds. Customers will pay $25 a month as long as they remain active on the Boost Mobile Unlimited plan.
Harry Douglas here to tell you about Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots. It's a fruity candy flavor explosion, and I mean explosion. Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots, a zero-sugar treat that's sweet tooth approved. These can take care of my candy cravings and provides a tasty caffeine kick without all the sugar. Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots. Get candy-flavored chaos with Fruity Rainbow 5-Hour Energy Shots, available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon.
Progressive presents ways to save money that aren't bundling your home and auto insurance with Progressive.
I can't believe the deal we got on these seats for the game.
Wow, they must be pretty high up here. I think my ears just popped.
Yeah, here, put this on.
Is that an oxygen mask?
An official team oxygen mask.
Well, I can kind of see the field.
Good, your senses are still sharp. You're going to need them for phase 2 of the ascent.
Don't save money by sitting in the nosebleeds. You could save hundreds by switching to Progressive. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Congratulations, New York. The Knicks did it. Through battle after battle, they dominated to become this year's NBA champions. Day in and day out, the hard work paid off, and you were there every step of the way. Enjoy the crown. Own it, because this year is your year. A part of your legacy that will never be forgotten. So celebrate this moment, show your pride, and shop the largest selection of official NBA gear at NBAstore.com. A Fanatics experience.
All right, Dan Grasser with you here on ESPN New York on this Friday at 800-919-3776. That is the telephone number. We talk Giant football with Jordan Raanan coming up in about 10 minutes or so. And Tom mentioned it in the sideline to sideline about the practice schedule for the football Giants and those numbers and the data that he was referring to. Going into yesterday's joint practice with the Dolphins, Giants have practiced 16 times in 21 days since training camp opened. So that is very little downtime. By comparison, last year when Brian Daboll was still running the show, they did not hit their 16th practice until day 32 of training camp, which, I mean, you almost need to go back and look it up and not calling the numbers or the report inaccurate. And this was in The Athletic, by the way, that they pointed this out. I think it was Charlotte Carroll who covers the Giants. And I'm not questioning the data at all. I mean, I'm sure that it's spot on, but it's almost like hard to believe that something like that would take place. Like, you're practicing then, baby. If you don't hit your 16th practice until like the 32nd day of camp, like you're basically practicing like every other day. Like practice day off, practice day off, practice day. Like I don't even know how that's even a thing. Like I almost, for my own purpose, I need to go back and just look at the schedule and how they went about training camp last year. And look, I know that camp is not what it used to be. It's not the training camp experience that we all kind of grew up on. You know, obviously they're trying to make the game a lot safer, and one of the ways to do that is to take their foot off the gas, is to, you know, how they practice these guys in the summer. And, you know, you're never long gone are the days of 2-a-day practices and even playing as much as they do during preseason. I mean, my God, you know, Buttle tells the stories that when he came into the league, you know, in the late 70s, and he was playing, like they had 6 preseason games back then. And the starters would play 6 preseason games. Can you imagine nowadays, given the product the way that it is, having to sit through 6 preseason? It's hard to sit through even 3, much less 6. And that's one of the reasons why they're going to be down to 2 probably in the next, I would say, at the latest, the next 5 years, because the product is just, you know, not even close to what you would expect to see and what your fan base is accustomed to when it comes to the National Football League. And look, I get it, but I still do believe that there is something to be gained for putting in the work and really having to deal with the adversity at this point of the summertime. And John Harbaugh is a coach that knows what he's doing. You know, he's been around the block. This is not like his first go-round as an NFL head coach. You know, he's had many a training camp before. He knows what it takes to get the best out of a football team, what benefits them in the long run. You know, trying to make sure that, you know, they are kind of battle-tested by the time December, January rolls around. Not to mention, you still want to make sure that they have something left in the tank. You know, that's important. And when you hear some of the players yesterday talk about, you know, being in those 100-degree temperatures in Miami yesterday, plus wearing all the equipment and the helmet and all that stuff, and the fact that they've already been prepared for this by practicing in the afternoon here, doing the same thing when they were down in West Virginia when it was even hotter for those first couple of weeks of training camp, I think there's something to be gained from that. I really and truly do, because, look, it's going to be hot the first month of the season in the NFL, and I know that the Giants have a couple of road games to begin, but nevertheless, it still shouldn't be any excuse. You know, go out there, deal with the conditions, and try to put your best foot forward. And, you know, once September rolls around, if, you know, another team starts tiring out earlier in the season, the Giants are going to be ready to rock and roll here. And therein lies the other problem with the preseason, to where, you know, because you don't have starters that are playing consistently and getting the reps in game situations. How many people do we hear say that, you know, the first 2-3 weeks of the regular season is almost like a glorified extension of the preseason, because guys are just not getting the reps consistently enough in the month of August. And, you know, it's gotten to the point where now preseason football has become like a necessary evil to help kind of bide the time before you get to the real thing. And even when the preseason ends next weekend, you still have to wait 2 weeks before we get this thing underway on that Sunday, the 13th of September. Quick timeout. When we come back, we'll continue the Giant conversation with our buddy, the great Jordan Raanan, who is living it up down in Miami in anticipation of the Giant-Dolphin game coming up tomorrow afternoon. That is next. 60 more minutes still to play with on this Friday program. It is Grasso with you here on ESPN New York.
Prizes, flyaways, even cash money. You want it? We've got it. Find a list of all contests and official rules by visiting ESPNNewYorkContests.com.
That's ESPNNewYorkContests.com.
1-877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1-877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Call 877-CARS-FOR-KIDS to reach a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Call us now or go to carsforkids.org.
7 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too?
When care matters most, experience matters more. The Allure Group is redefining rehabilitation and long-term care across New York with 6 convenient locations. Their expert clinicians create personalized care plans to help you recover, rebuild, and get back to what matters most. From short-term rehab to long-term care, Allure is committed to comfort, dignity, and results. To learn more, visit allurecare.com. The Allure Group, where care meets compassion.
This is Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg.
There needs to be an intervention.
I agree.
And this is coming from a Met fan, and I get it. I'm not telling you to get rid of Mr. Met. He's a part of the fabric of the Mets, but you don't have to make him a part of every damn thing you do. The kids love it. Great. But when Senga's established himself as a closer, Steve Gelbs is trying to break news, we don't need to dance in Mr. Met as if like he's vital to everything that's going on.
Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg. Weekdays at 3 on 880 ESPN and the ESPN New York app.
Tricon Construction is growing across New Jersey, delivering larger, more complex commercial projects with the precision today's developers expect. Because when the timelines, capital, and reputation are all on the line, you need more than a contractor. You need a true construction partner. Tricon brings experienced leadership, disciplined project management, and a team built around accountability and execution. From planning to completion, they build with purpose, professionalism, and pride. For serious commercial projects, build with Tricon. Visit triconbuilds.com. That's triconbuilds.com.
Less than 4 in 10 kids aged 6 through 12 are playing sports regularly. 4 in 10 kids? Let it sink in. Just 4 in 10 kids. ESPN is building a nationwide coalition powered by Disney called Take Back Sports, with the purpose of training more coaches, expanding access, and creating community-driven sports programming that puts kids and fun first. We're working on that story. We hope you'll join us.
Visit takebacksports.org to learn more.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/play. That's ethos.com/play. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
ESPN New York. Now streaming live on YouTube. Subscribe today and watch the show. WHSQ and WCBS FM HD2 New York.
All right, hour number 3 on this busy Friday program. Dan Grasso with you on ESPN New York. We take it till 1, then it is the great Michael Kay Show coming your way. Tomorrow afternoon down in Miami, the football Giants will play their second preseason game after a spirited joint session with the Fish yesterday afternoon. And one gentleman who was there to take it all in, up close and personal, is our next guest. He, of course, covers the Giants for us here at ESPN. He is also going to be working with me again all week next week, bright and early. Set the alarm now, my friend. It is the great Jordan Raanan, who is nice enough to give us a couple of minutes here on the program. How are you? How's Florida?
I'm home. I came home.
You're home?
I went to joint practice and came home last night. Yeah.
But what about the joint game?
Preseason schmeeses. Joint practices are better. They're more important.
See that? So you get more from the joint
It's
practice
more of a
than you
real
do from even the game.
indicator. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
So how was it?
We'll
Did
see
you do
who
anything
even plays
fun
again.
while you were down there?
Think about it. Everybody, watch football. That's it. In and out. Got in Wednesday night. Watch football. No. Fort Lauderdale, because it's not really down in Miami, or at least what we consider, downtown Miami. In and out. Football. Here's the beauty of joint practice. Everybody plays in joint practice, right? Everybody was on the field except for Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors isn't playing in the preseason game either. But guys like Andrew Thomas, Jaxson Dart, Brian Burns, they're going through a full practice. Whereas in the preseason game, you're watching guys who, quite frankly, half of them won't even be here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think you make some good points there, but I would have looked at it this way. Like, I could understand if they were, playing in Boise tomorrow, and you wanted to get the hell out of Boise. But, to milk a couple of extra days down in, Miami is not the worst thing in the world, no?
Yeah, it wasn't an option, A. And B, I just spent 12 days in West Virginia, Dan.
That's true.
I like to see my family once in a while. We're going to be waking up at 4 a.m., the next week also, because I got to do that show with some guy, I don't know, in the morning next week.
I forgot about the West Virginia thing.
No.
I did forget about the West Virginia thing. So, all right, I'll give you a bit of grace there.
I was way enough. I was way enough already. That was good enough.
But nevertheless, so the practice yesterday, from all accounts, it was quite the feisty affair between the two sides, no?
Yeah, the Dolphins literally were basically knocking people to the ground on every Giants offensive play. Like, they were pretty much tackling for a while. So you knew eventually it would boil over. And, these are the stupid joint practice scrums. They run around, they pretend they're mad, and everybody's over it like 10 minutes later. And, if you're throwing punches, it's actually stupid. You're throwing punches at guys in helmets. So, come on, what are we doing here? But, yeah, it's what happens when you spend, 3 or 4 weeks practicing against your own team. You finally get an opportunity to hit somebody else. You want to hit them. And so eventually you do.
I'll tell you, I personally was encouraged by some of the things that I heard coming from the players after the practice yesterday, because look, obviously you can attest to this. It was hot. It was steamy down there. It's Florida in the summer. What do you expect? But a lot of the players said that they felt prepared dealing with those conditions just for the way that John Harbaugh has practiced them so far here in August. Afternoon practices, the West Virginia, all that stuff. And, to them, they thought yesterday was nothing more than a walk in the park, so to speak.
Oh, yeah. I don't know about a walk in the park, but it was, everybody was just drenched out there, just standing out there. It was over 100 degrees on the field for sure. But you could see that this team is more ready to play football than they were the last couple of years for sure. The physicality they're ready for, they're used to it, right? Because this is the kind of practice that John Harbaugh runs. He's running. That was actually a light practice for them, right? Between the amount of live special teams drills they did and the amount of time they spent stopping the little scrums where the guys just run around and yell at each other, they probably ran less plays than they usually do at a John Harbaugh practice. So for them, this is on the lighter side. And if you think back to the last couple of years, right, they get absolutely hammered by the Cowboys, 40-0. I always want to say 41 because of that NFC Championship game. But
right.
40-0, right? They lose to the Cowboys. They get smacked by the Vikings, right? Who it really wasn't even much of a game like the last couple of years. And so, to be ready for week one, like this team is clearly, physically at least, way further along than Giants teams of the last few years have been in regards to getting ready for the season. And I think you saw that yesterday. Now, Dan, let's be fair. I told myself going down there, don't overreact. The Dolphins are terrible.
Awful.
Right? Yeah. That is a bit. Name me 5 players on the Dolphins you'll have trouble right now. A-Chain, Willis, and good luck.
Patrick
seriously.
Pass. Jordan Brooks.
Yeah. It is, bare down there. Their cornerback, their secondary room, it's bad. So you would expect the Giants to be the better team, and they were, in my estimation, pretty clearly. But at the same time, you have to keep that into perspective because that's a really bad Dolphins team. But and on the flip side of that is, though, if they went down there and weren't able to dominate, I would have been super concerned. So they did at least take care of business and prove that they should be the better team and are the more talented team by a pretty significant margin than the Miami Dolphins.
All right, so not to rain on the parade at all, things were obviously very successful from an offensive standpoint. Jaxson Dart, said to have, one of his best days of camp. He and the Dart Isaiah
I thought it was his single best day of camp.
Okay, any good day of practice is a good day of practice. But do you say that was more Jaxson Dart had a good day or more, boy, the Dolphins are really, really bad and that's why it happened?
Probably a combination, but still, you make some when the opportunities are there. You got to hit them. There was a throw to Likely at the second level, which is the kind of anticipatory throw. He led him perfectly. He was coming across the field Likely. You hadn't seen a lot of those throws all summer, and so to be able to see them, I don't really care what team it's against. That was encouraging to me that he hit a deep ball to Malachi Fields down the left sideline. I mean, it wasn't the greatest throw in the world. It kind of came out of his hands, really funky. But it's a 40-yard completion down the left sideline. Do you really care how the ball came out of his hand? Probably not if it's going to result in a 40-yard completion. And there was just a lot of things to like from Jaxson Dart. Even the interception, and I know this is a uber positive take. I actually looked at that as a positive because I thought that's one of the things we haven't seen from Jaxson Dart. He really hasn't, man. This has made me a little hesitant this summer. Those super tight window throws down the field. And you'll see him from Jameis once in a while, and, good and bad from Jameis for sure when he does that. But Dart, even on the interception he threw, he attempted to throw a deep ball down the seam in a tight window to Calvin Austin. And the guy made an excellent interception. Jumped, got off the ground, the linebacker really high, and tipped it in the air and caught it himself as he fell. Like a great play. But to me, that's an encouraging sign that he's at least trying that. This is the time to try that and to see what you can get away with, to see what you can do, because he can't just run around and do all freelance plays. Like, there has to be some structure to what Jaxson does, and I think Jaxson Dart does, and we saw that more yesterday.
Jordan Raanan, our guest here on ESPN New York. Giants-Dolphins coming up tomorrow afternoon from Miami. The Najee Harris edition, he must like Harbaugh's because he had Jim last year, and now he moves over to John this season. We know that Turbo Miller is down with injury, but everybody that watched the game last Saturday saw Tyrone Tracy whiff on a block, and it almost put their quarterback in the hospital because of it. How much do you think was motivated, or how much of this signing do you think was motivated by either one of those, maybe one more so than the other?
A little on both, but not a ton. They've been monitoring Najee for a while now, months. The actual workout was set up last week, so that was before the Tracy play even happened.
Mm-hmm.
I just think they're looking for more depth and more options at that position. Look, let's say there is a concern around the league by people about, hey, can Cam Scadaboo really hold up, right? With the way he plays, his size. If you go and you just stand next to him in an NFL, or look at him in an NFL locker room, he's not very big.
Right.
Right. And his style of play, you have to wonder, he's coming off a serious injury. So let's just say he gets banged up and Cam Scadaboo's not available. Now what's your running back room look like? Tyrone Tracy and Devin Singletary? Yeah, that's not going to leave you very confident in that group, right? You're going to be like, we probably need to add somebody. So I think that's what this is more about than any specific play or any indictment on Tyrone Tracy. And the opportunity, became easier and more available because Turbo Miller got injured. So now there was a roster spot open that we'd say, okay, you know what? Maybe now's the time to bring him in and look at him, see if we can get him at the football ship. And by the way, I keep wanting to call him Eddie Lacy, by the way. Najee Harris, I don't know why. But Najee Harris was on the field yesterday in live drills 3 days after being signed, coming off an Achilles injury, and looked pretty good. Ran.
That's surprising.
A nice cutback run near the goal line for a touchdown. Yeah, they said it was going to take 2 or 3 weeks to get into football shape, and 2 or 3 days later, he's out there in live drills.
The defense obviously did their thing yesterday too, but again, it's not exactly a high bar because this is not Dan Marino to the Marx Brothers version of the Dolphins offense that they were facing.
Yeah.
Are we going to see more of the starters, if any, on the field on Saturday? Because we didn't see them certainly last weekend against Minnesota.
It's a good question. I don't know the answer at this point. I do think we're going to see a lot of the young players still play. John Harbaugh wants to play his young players in the preseason. He said that. I believe he's going to do that. Now, what did the Brian Burnses of the world play? I think that's another story. Andrew Thomas on the offensive side, those kind of guys probably don't need to see them more than they maybe like a drive in the preseason total, if at all. and it would probably be next week's game, especially after this joint practice. But I do expect to see at least a good chunk of Giants starters out there on defense. Dan, I also you want to do a quick trivia?
Sure.
I dare you to name me like a Dolphins wide receiver right now.
Well, they traded Jalen Waddle to the Broncos, so he's not around.
Exactly. There's no Tyreek Hill anymore. It's hard.
Who's even their number one right now? Or that they fashioned to be their number one?
They don't really have one.
They just have guys.
It's thin. It's thin. They think, Jalen Tolbert, Malik Washington, Tutu Atwell, Jalen Reed. Like, this is what we're working with.
Yeah. And as we knew all offseason, okay, this is a team that is very unapologetic about their designs to get the number one overall pick in the draft. Let's be real.
Yeah.
And that to me is why the Malik Willis money that they gave him makes absolutely no sense. I said this back in March when they threw it all at him. It contradicts every other thing they're doing with the roster construction for this season.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you got to put a quarterback out there, though. And in quarterback money, it's not that much money, I guess. I don't know.
True, but
I don't think we want to get into a deep Dolphins discussion, but I'm just saying, when we're talking about the Giants' defense and how they played, we do have to keep that in mind. I mean, just look at that wide receiver core. I couldn't believe it.
Speaking of the Giant wide receivers, so Malik Neighbors still coming along, red jersey, though. Everything A-OK up until this point as far as the target week one. We're still on that timeline?
I'd be very surprised if we do not see Malik Neighbors week one. It would have to mean that there's a setback somewhere along the way here if Malik Neighbors is not playing. He has gotten into live drills. Next week, by the way, he probably will even shed the red jersey. That's my guess.
Ooh. Very nice.
Informed guess.
Yes. Obviously the play that stood out last week, the touchdown catch on the Jaxson Dart rollout by Malachi Fields. What has this camp done for him as far as helping to possibly vault him up the depth chart a little bit? And certainly the play that he made last weekend doesn't help matters in that sense.
Yeah, validates what the Giants wanted and thought, that he was going to be their number two wide receiver, basically. Like, that's what his skill set, lends to. He is the bigger, more physical guy that they want on the outside in these base formations. The blocking ability is huge. The contested catch ability, that's, favors Jaxson Dart. He likes to throw those, real quick, one read, throw back shoulder, throw it up, and let the guy go get it. And that's what Malachi Fields does. And that's what we've seen here. So he's turning into the Giants' number two receiver alongside Malik Neighbors. I think that's what we're seeing right now. And I think week one, when they come out on the field, especially, when they're going to go and try to run and pound the ball against everybody they play, especially the Dallas Cowboys in week one, you're going to see Malachi Fields on the field next to Malik Neighbors, or maybe somebody else. If you're going to run the ball on early downs, we might not actually see Malik Neighbors there. When you basically know you're running the ball at certain times. But you get the point. He's the guy. Mooney and Darius Slayton, same kind of players. Fast vertical guys. A little bit duplicitous, if you ask me. I wouldn't be surprised. You've heard a little rumblings that the Giants would at least be willing to listen to offers, or maybe move one of those guys.
Well, they got a lot of guys. I mean, like we said, they went crazy that one day where they signed, the day they signed Odell. They signed him, Berrios, and Juju all on the same day, and then just adding them to the rest of the mix. So they're not all going to make the team. We knew that. So, yeah, it certainly makes sense for them to possibly shop one or two of them because they're not all going to make the roster.
Malik Neighbors was injured.
Right.
At the time, Malik Neighbors was injured, and they weren't sure when he was going to be back. Even they were hesitant and concerned. Darius Slayton, remember, had a core muscle surgery, so they were down a couple guys right there. Bo Collins was injured, so they eventually already cut, and so they were kind of getting short on guys. The reality is Juju's already gone. He was released. Berrios probably has the best chance to make the team because he looks like he has a good chance to be their punt returner. And Odell's kind of on the fringe here, and he's going to have some work to do. And whether he's on the roster, the 53, maybe lands on the practice squad, I think these are all in consideration.
Jordan Raanan, our guest here on ESPN New York, talking football Giants. Let me go back to the schedule thing for 1 second that we talked about earlier. With the training camp schedule, how much work Harbaugh has them do. I think you saw that, I guess Charlotte had it in The Athletic, that as of Thursday, it was 16 practices in 21 days. Last year, they didn't hit their 16th practice until their 32nd day after camp opened. I mean, I'd have to go back and just for my own sense, like I can't believe that's even possible when you compare it to what we're seeing now. And look, I'm all for it. I applaud it, by the way Harbaugh has this camp going and structured and everything. But it's just like, I can't believe we lived in a world where that was actually like the common practice a year ago. How is that possible?
Yeah. Look,
and White didn't register more at the time.
Camp, I called the last couple of years training camps a country club. Carl Banks took offense to it and made some comments about it being a country club and me saying that. But in retrospect, I think everyone kind of agrees that's what it was. I'm sure if you look at there's some other coaches out there, a la Andy Reid, who do similar things, but John Harbaugh is on the hard end of the practice scale. That's like a known thing. Everybody told me when they hired him, this is what it's going to be like. This is the expectation. I think everybody knew that coming in. All the players knew that too, because they heard from friends that used to be with Harbaugh. It's like, get ready to work. He's gonna get you out there. And it's not just the sheer number, Dan. Like, you have to understand, they're running so many more plays at practice, live plays, live reps. That's what I'm talking about. There was a practice where I believe they topped 100 plays, live reps, during a practice, which is an insane number compared to what I've seen over the last couple of years. So this is part of what he wants to do, and on top of that, he's trying to build something here and weed out the guys that he doesn't really trust. He even does. It's called the battle of fatigue. He calls it towards the end of practice, where he wants to keep them running and moving fast. Because he wants to see who still has something left, who he could trust at the end of games. Like, this is the approach that John Harbaugh brings to about practice. And he said to me, look, I know that you're not going to be at their best and guys are going to make mistakes. And you don't have to, be at your best at that point. You just have to I want to see who's better at that point when you have nothing left and you're tired, who's able to be better than their opponent. That's what he's trying to find out, which guys he wants for the long term and to be here for when they really can start winning games, and who he can trust in those spots.
You're not going to find an argument from me. I fully endorse it. I mean, like I said, this guy knows what the hell he's doing. He's been around the block long enough as a head coach. He knows what works and what doesn't work, and to make sure that his team is the best prepared and in the best shape possible come December and January, when you want to be at your absolute best. So, like I said, if I'm a Giant fan, Jordan, this whole month of August has been music to my ears with everything that I'm seeing and hearing.
Yeah, I don't see how you can complain or not like that when you hear that, right? Yeah, we need to weed out the guys. There's guys that are, Did
we lose
and
Jordan?
He's going to find out which ones. Which ones? What's that? You said it's
no,
me?
we lost it for a second. You cocked out for a second.
Oh, I said he's still finding out which players, and they're still losing players on this roster, players that he probably won't want. And that's what he's finding out now, and he's going to find out this season. And you'll see at the end of the season, there'll be a surprise player or two, I'm sure, that he decides to move on from. He's thinking, you know what, I don't like the way this guy operates, or the way he handles himself when it comes down to it, and you have to put in that extra work. I'm sure there's going to be guys. Not every guy's going to be made for John Harbaugh.
It is his show, and you have to accept that if you're a Giant fan. Tremendous job by you, my friend. Enjoy the game tomorrow. I'm sure it will be so entertaining, and I look forward to seeing you bright and early Monday morning, and we'll have a little fun week of shows. What do you say?
We are going to have a fun week. That'll be great. I mean, we'll just do Jets and Giants galore. I'm sure we'll have me rip on the Yankees a little bit when they score one run. I know they're hot right now, but it'll come back, and we'll be doing it all over again.
And we could even go retro and throw in a little World Cup soccer talk just for the throwback machine. How about that?
No, that's only every 4 years. I'm done for 4 years. I need a 4-year break.
Every 4 years, exactly.
Get back to me in 3 years and 11 months.
We'll do that definitely. All right, buddy. Appreciate you. We'll see you Monday.
All right, Dan. See ya.
All right, there is the great Jordan Raanan. He will be taking in the Giant-Dolphin game remotely tomorrow, and good for him. But we will be looking forward to doing a week's worth of shows coming up Monday, he and I, for the guys in the morning there. DNR becomes GNR once again starting Monday at 6 a.m. 800-919-3776, that is the telephone number. Let's get into some football conversation. Jets, Giants, whatever. It is all up for discussion. Want to hear from you. We roll till 1. Then it is the K Show here on ESPN New York.
Mornings with DiPietro and Rothenberg.
I firmly believe I have the coach. I less believe, but still believe I have the quarterback. And if you tell me a team has a coach and a quarterback, you know what? I believe that they can do something special. I think Harbaugh is a really good coach, and he will build this into a championship team.
DiPietro and Rothenberg, morning 6 to 10 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube.
D'Agostino, Law, Bite Back. This is John D'Agostino from D'Agostino and Associates, and I know how a serious accident can change your life just like that.
I'm Jenna D'Agostino, and I understand that with pain comes medical bills and time out of work. Let us get you justice.
This is John Ryan, the closer. For over 35 years, our family has been getting accident victims every dollar they deserve.
I started this firm for the injured so they can bite back against the insurance companies.
Our legacy is to get you justice. Bite back.
To get you paid. Bite back.
At D'Agostino and Associates, bite back means fight back. When you're hurt and they blame you, we bite back and get you every dollar you deserve. We have offices throughout New York and New Jersey, so call us first at 1-800-BITE-BACK. That's 1-800-248-3222. 1-800-248-3222. I've been there, and I'll be there for you.
At City Harvest, we believe no New Yorker has to go hungry. With your help, we're on the road 365 days a year, rescuing over 77 million pounds of nutritious food and delivering it free to millions of New Yorkers, transforming surplus food into sustenance, sustainability, and smiles, rallying thousands of New Yorkers to power a network of nourishment across our city. One day, one meal, and one New Yorker at a time. That's how we feed good. Donate at cityharvest.org.
Monkey Sports, built by players for players, is your one-stop shop for hockey, baseball, lacrosse, and more. Find top-name equipment and expert in-store services like sharpening, break-ins, and relacing. Shop in-store at Monkey Sports in Farmingdale or Woodbridge or online for all the top brands. Whatever your sports, Monkey Sports gets you game ready fast. Monkey Sports, where athletes shop.
You make sure his toys don't have any sharp edges. You taught her what to do when the smoke alarm goes off and to wear a helmet when she rides her bicycle. You do so much to keep your child safe. But are you using the right car seat for your child? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Protect your child's future at every stage of life. For information on the right seat for your child, visit safercar.gov/the right seat.
Sponsored by the New York State Governor's Traffic Safety Committee.
Hey, it's Michael Kidd. Not sleeping? Well, it could be your mattress. At PC Richard & Son, they don't just sell you a mattress. Their experts use a 4-step mattress fitting process so that your new bed fits you perfectly. They guarantee it. And in-home delivery on any mattress $399 and up, it's free. Come in for a complimentary mattress consultation and get a free travel neck pillow, no purchase required. So do what I do and get to PC Richard & Son today for your new mattress. Free delivery excludes Manhattan.
This is Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg.
There needs to be an intervention.
I agree.
And this is coming from a Met fan, and I get it. I'm not telling you to get rid of Mr. Met. He's a part of the fabric of the Mets, but you don't have to make him a part of every damn thing you do. The kids love it. Great. But when Senga's established himself as a closer, Steve Gelbs is trying to break news, we don't need to dance in Mr. Met as if like he's vital to everything that's going on.
Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg. Weekdays at 3 on 880 ESPN and the ESPN
ESPN New York app.
Get into the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event and get away with a deal so right it almost feels wrong. Right now, you can get great deals on our most popular models, including our adventure-ready SUVs like the Hyundai Santa Fe or Santa Fe Hybrid and the Tucson or Tucson Hybrid. Plus, there's our bold and stylish Elantra loaded with the latest tech, or go all-electric with the Ioniq 5 or Ioniq 9. So get down to your local Hyundai dealer and get away with a deal you'll love during the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Visit HyundaiUSA.com for details. It's Rich Eisen for Pella Windows and Doors. Sometimes teams take a timeout to regroup and call the right play. When it comes to your home, Pella Windows and Doors always has the winning game plan. They do it every day, and that's why your neighbors trust them. Visit Pella.com/Eisen today. Right now, Pella Windows and Doors of New Jersey is offering buy one, get one 40% off windows and doors and no payments, no interest for 24 months. Some restrictions may apply. See local showroom for details. Offer ends August 31st, 2026.
All right, Dan Grasso with you here on ESPN New York. We roll till 1 that it is the K Show here on ESPN New York. And right now, it is time for your weekend weather report. It is brought to you by Neutral. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies, maybe a rain chance. Why wouldn't it rain, right? We can't have 2 consecutive days where it doesn't rain. And forget about the fact that we had tornadoes in the area yesterday. Of course, the rain's got to be back just a couple of days later, but you get a high of 75. Sunday, sun and clouds, potential for, guess what, folks? That's right, couple of showers and thunderstorms. Why the heck not? High of 80. Down at the shore, rain and thunderstorms tomorrow, high of 76. Not the best beach day. Sunday, you get clouds and sun with a few showers and thunderstorms, high of 83. And that was your weekend weather report, brought to you by our good friends at Neutral. Keep it tasty with Neutral Vodka Seltzer. It's made with real vodka and real fruit juice, so enjoy it responsibly. Now, before we get into the football things, I have to, and I don't usually do this unless I feel that there's a level of importance to it, and I think that this calls for it. To peel, behind the curtain for a second, we just had Jordan on. And always love talking to Jordan. But sources have confirmed to me that the process, the operation, as they like to say, during the operation of getting Jordan on the air, Ray, maybe you could finish the story because, like I said, I don't want to put words into other people's mouths. But Tom picked up the phone and he called up to get Jordan on the phone. And I guess it was during that phone call exchange where things kind of went off the rails a little bit.
Yes, he was there trying to be affable with Jordan and trying to be a little too cute for his own mind and talking about Miami. And when he found out that Jordan was no longer in Miami, he said, "Oh, I was going to ask you if you were going to say hi to Tom Selleck." Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, For those of you trying to catch where my brain was trying to go, I thought Tom Selleck was on Miami Vice before being yelled at by one Ray Dinahan that, no, you're trying to refer to Magnum P.I., which, by the way, as Ray Dinahan also pointed out to me, takes place in Hawaii.
You were looking for Don Johnson. Johnson was Miami Vice.
Yeah, I prefer Don LaGreca for ranking the Dons.
Sonny Crockett was the character on Miami Vice. Now.
Yeah.
Now. Okay. Look, I think it's important to discuss this. Am I going to destroy you for it? Of course not. I'm not going to do that.
You should.
No, I'm not going to do it. Because as Ray pointed out to me, and I'm going to use Ray's words, he essentially, when the pop culture timeline, you're a child in that sense, right? Like Magnum P.I. went off the air, I think, mid-'80s? When was it like 86? Somewhere around there, maybe 87, the latest for Magnum P.I. I'm talking about the original. They did a reboot a few years ago, but like the Tom Selleck Magnum P.I. I mean, Jesus, I was even young when Magnum P.I. ended.
That was a 1980 to 1988 situation.
Okay, so 88. A good, solid run of the 80s for Tom Selleck and that stash. He had the very distinguished the Hawaiian shirt, which I guess, could also double down in Florida during those times. Now, here's a trivia question for you.
Mm-hmm.
because like I said, you had your geography mixed up there with Florida and Hawaii. Do you remember, or did you ever see pictures of what baseball team cap Tom Selleck / Magnum would wear from time to time in the episodes?
I would have no idea what cap that was.
Does Ray Dinahan know that answer?
I'm trying to think right now. I don't know it off the top of my head, but as soon as you say it, I'll be like,
He would sport the Detroit Tigers cap, believe it or not, on occasion.
Is there a reason behind that? Was he a Tigers fan, or he just thought it looked stylish out in Hawaii?
I don't know if Thomas Magnum originated from the Detroit area and was a Tiger fan. I would like to think that it would be a little bit more than just a coincidence. So, yeah, like I said, I don't know the backstory, because I was not an avid Magnum viewer. Like I said, I was still very young, but I was familiar enough with it. And even when I went to Hawaii on my honeymoon, believe it or not, I remember in one of the novelty stores, they actually had like a shirt which kind of doubled as the Magnum PI shirt and was like a damn near replica of what they wore on the show. So they were very proud of that. But yeah, I mean, to confuse Magnum PI and Miami Vice, that's kind of... And they were both kind of in that same window. Miami Vice, right out of the 80s, like that show was drenched, with 80s pop culture. You know what the great thing is? And you could go online, you go on Twitter and search this, because I stumbled upon this, I don't remember, like within the last few months. Somebody put together like a video compilation. It's maybe like 2-3 minutes long of all of the notable guest stars that appeared on Miami Vice. And at the time, they weren't like anywhere near as famous as they ultimately became. But it's amazing if you go back and see the who's who of people that had a guest starring role in like one episode of Miami Vice over the years. The best one, like as Carlin and I talked about this like a few weeks ago, Bill Russell was on Miami Vice and Kramer from Seinfeld in the same episode. And, like, Kramer was a guy who was, like, a no-good, like, loan shark gambler type guy or whatever, mixed up with the wrong crowd. And I guess, like, Bill Russell got mixed up with him because Bill Russell, in the episode, if I remember right, had a son who was a basketball star in, like, high school or something like that. And I guess got involved with, throwing games or shaving points or something like that, to which Kramer's people was involved in it. And I guess, like, the son wasn't following up with it, and then, like, Kramer was trying to figure out, where's my money and so on and so forth. It was fantastic. And if I'm not mistaken, and the name escapes me, the one who played Bill Russell's son in the episode was also somebody of note, and I can't remember, and it's driving me crazy. And that's all I got. But see, Tom, now you can begin your vacation, and you could sit there. Are you going away with friends, family, both? What is it?
There's going to be some family and friends involved as well.
Family and friends. So, the long car ride, as you're driving south, you could sit there and say, hey, did you know, blah, 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 and throw a little Miami Vice and Magnum PI trivia at them.
And by the way, I found out the answer to your trivia question.
It is?
Bernard King.
That's it, Bernard King. Got it. Now, think about this for a second, okay? That episode was probably mid-'80s, like 85, 84, 85, 86, somewhere around there that I'm talking about. Bernard King was already an NBA superstar at that point, right? He was already a first-team All-NBAer with the Knicks, for crying out loud, by that time. I don't know off the top of my head if he was supposed to be playing a high school basketball player or like a college basketball player.
Oh, well, would you like the plot? Because I've got that right in front of me.
Because I said, like, high school, and I'm like, wait a sec. If they casted Bernard King, who was already easily probably like close to 30 years of age at that point, there's no way he could pass for a high schooler. And if Bill Russell is supposed to be his father.
So
all right, so give me the plot.
So here's your plot. This episode is called The Fix.
Okay.
Bernard King plays character Matt Ferguson. He is a star college basketball player for the Florida Sunblazers.
The Florida Sunblazers.
His dad is Judge Roger Ferguson, of course by Bill Russell, gets into gambling debt. A ruthless bookie played by Michael Richards pressures the judge to make his son throw a crucial playoff game to clear the debt.
And what year was this?
Oh, you're asking for a lot of information.
I thought that they would, if that was like
1986.
IMDb. 86? So 86. Like I said, Bernard King, already well established in the NBA, is playing a college fantasy.
He was just under 30, apparently.
And how many years in the NBA did he have already by 1986?
Let's see. He started in 77,
So he was a decade in the NBA. That is the hallmark of 80s pop culture television. Let's cast Bernard. Who can we get to play a college? And remember, back then, college sports was very unlike it is right now, to where you could be 25 going on 30, it seems like, and then play 6-7 years in college. But back then, they were kind of that late teen, early 20s max. So who can we get to play a college basketball star? Let's get a 10-year NBA veteran to nail down the casting job.
Who was 30 years old at the time, by the way.
Was 30. Oh, my gosh. 30 years old.
And apparently Tom Selleck from Detroit. That's why he chose to wear the Detroit
Tom
Tigers hat.
Selleck, like Tom Selleck himself from
Mr.
Detroit.
Mustache himself, yes.
So it has, because Thomas Magnum obviously was in the Navy, and then, Magnum PI. But it has nothing to do with the character Magnum with Detroit roots. It's all Tom Selleck.
Right.
Thank you so much for
See that? The more you know. But wow. Bernard King, college basketball star, 30 years of age, 10-year NBA veteran. But you know what? That was the beauty of those times. It worked. It worked. Nobody asked any questions, and nobody could. And at that time, you couldn't go on the internet to kind of figure these things out. You just you went with it. Not to mention this, the culture and the nightlife and everything that was happening down in Miami in the mid '80s. Ray, I don't have to tell you, because you remember. Even the producers and the writers of those shows were probably so influenced by the nightlife scene down there. They didn't think twice about who they were casting, how old certain people were. It didn't matter. You know what? They just put it on TV, and it worked. And people watched, and nobody asked any questions.
They probably weren't sure if they were in Miami or Oahu.
They didn't know where the hell they were. You know what? It was like one of the number one shows on television each week consistently. It didn't matter who the hell they put on the show. I mean, they could have – you know what? It wouldn't have shocked me because they were so out of their minds probably with all the recreational paraphernalia that was happening back then. They probably originally casted Bill Russell to play the college basketball star. And then somebody tapped him on the shoulder and said, wait a minute, that might even be a little too far-fetched considering Bill Russell's been retired for 25 years. I think that one might be a stretch.
And they had Bernard King playing the father and like, wait, hang on a second. You know it would be better. We got to switch this around.
Exactly. Right, the original plot was Bill Russell as the college basketball star and Bernard King as the father of Bill Russell. Oh, my goodness. Those are fun times. See that? Little knowledge for you, some pop culture knowledge to send you off into the weekend. There's nothing wrong with that at all. 800-919-3776. That is the telephone number. We'll come back. We'll talk a little Mets as to what they have in store coming into the weekend, seeing if they could play spoiler for those White Sox. And we'll close it out on the phones with you as well before we hand it off to Michael at 1 o'clock for TMKS. That is right here on ESPN New York.
ESPN New York and MSG Network are joining forces.
Big news, Jazz hands.
Start your mornings with DiPietro and Rothenberg, live on the MSG Network. Then stick around for Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg, live on MSG every afternoon.
We are beyond excited to start simulcasting on MSG Networks.
So think about this for a quick second. You got us in the morning 6 to 10. You got our afternoon show 3 to 7. And then right after that, you're talking Knicks, you're talking Rangers.
Yo, yeah. You wake up, you pop it on again, and there we are, waiting for you. Good morning.
ESPN New York and MSG Network, together like never before. It all starts Tuesday, September 8th.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids.
1-877-CARS for kids. Donate your car today. 1-877-CARS for kids. KARS Cars for kids. 1-877-CARS for kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877-CARS4KIDS to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to cars4kids.org now or call 877-CARS4KIDS to donate your car today.
1-877-CARS for kids. KARS Cars for kids. 1-877-CARS for kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
Hey Yankees fans, gather a group of 10 or more and take advantage of our 2026 Yankees group ticket specials. Whether you're getting together with family and friends, organizing a fundraiser, or entertaining clients, your group will love bonding over the Bronx Bombers. Start planning your 2026 group outings today. Log on to Yankees.com/groups. Call 212-YANKEES or email us at groups@Yankees.com. That's 2026 group tickets. Call 212-YANKEES or visit Yankees.com/groups today.
Hey, it's Alan Hahn. Upgrade your outdoor living space with TimberTech, the #1 brand in premium decking from Rings End. Picture this, a deck that's the highlight of your backyard, turning heads season after season. Now, imagine 20, 30 years later. It's still going strong. And here's the best part. You haven't spent a moment sanding, staining, or sealing it. Visit your local Rings End for the stunning real wood looks of TimberTech decking, paired with the kind of durability that only advanced engineering can deliver. Backed by industry-leading warranties, TimberTech is the decking that performs for decades. Ask for it locally at Rings End.
Hey, it's Peter Rosenberg. This summer, I made a decision. Instead of just living with my pain, I wanted to find out what was actually causing it. That's why I went to see Dr. Jay Shah at Samwell Pain. What I liked right away was his approach. He takes the time to understand what's going on and builds a treatment plan that's right for you without jumping straight to surgery. If you're dealing with back pain, neck pain, sciatica, or joint pain, it's worth having the conversation. With offices in Woodbridge, Livingston, and Inglewood, getting care is convenient no matter where you are. Go to samwellpain.com to learn more or schedule an appointment.
A small business affirmation from Progressive. Plumbers, today will be a good day. You will be profitable. Your clients will be nice. No one will stand over you and tell you how to fix the thing they actually hired you to fix. You will also feel at peace after switching to Progressive, America's #1 commercial auto insurer. See if you can save in as little as 8 minutes at progressivecommercial.com.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates, #1 commercial auto insurer from the NAIC's 2024 National Premium Data.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-494-6139. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-494-6139.
This is the Michael K. Show.
Take a look around Major League Baseball, and the Yankees are a lot closer to perfect than most of the teams that are supposedly real championship contenders. And I'll say this with no equivocation whatsoever. If the Yankees were healthy with their running it back philosophy that everybody kicked around, they'd be running it back and running over the competition.
The Michael K. Show, weekdays at 1 on ESPN New York and streaming live on YouTube. Presented by the Parisman Firm.
All right, Grasso with you here on ESPN New York. Good job with the music there, Raymond. Tremendous. 800-919-3776. Big news for New York sports fans. DNR and Don, Hahn, and Rosenberg coming to MSG Networks. Starting Tuesday, September the 8th, you can catch our morning and afternoon shows simulcasted across MSG Networks television and digital platforms. You can still catch us on 880 AM, the ESPN New York app, YouTube, and a whole lot more, of course. But we're beyond excited to start simulcasting on MSG Networks, which will give our shows an even bigger platform to reach our fans. Don't miss out. It's all starting September the 8th on MSG Networks. Very cool. Looking forward to that. Grasso with you here at 800-919-3776, the telephone number. And I'm getting messages on the old X, and you can get me at Dan Grasso, GRACA. People reminded me, and I just recently saw this again as another refresher. Tom Selleck, back on the Magnum train for a second. He actually appeared in an actual spring training game for the Detroit Tigers once upon a time. I don't remember what year it was, but, obviously the fandom. And remember, Billy Crystal did the same thing for the Yankees, right? He got an at-bat, if I'm not mistaken. I forgot what year it was. It was during the, the dynasty years there in the late 90s. But, yeah, it's pretty good. And Garth Brooks, of course, with the Mets. Who can forget that? That was that a pre-Chris Gaines vehicle, Ray, when Garth Brooks suited up for the Mets? I know Steve Phillips was the GM. I remember that.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly the timeline of it.
Not quite memorable enough, but yeah, it has happened when we had music and, sports converge like that. But nevertheless, it was indeed a thing. Also, breaking news presented by Boost Mobile, in case you're just joining us, for you tennis fans out there. And you know what? It's topical because it's our backyard, our national Grand Slam with the U.S. Open that gets started in a couple of weeks here. Jannik Sinner, world number 1, out of the U.S. Open with a knee injury. Alcaraz just announced yesterday he will play and make his return after sitting out since the spring due to a wrist injury. So that's somewhat good news, but also a little bit of a buzzkill for the U.S. Open and for our company here at ESPN, who, of course, televises every bounce of the ball of the tournament. And that is breaking news presented by Boost Mobile. Don't overpay. Get unlimited talk, text, and data for $25 a month forever, for life, for real. Switch now at boostmobile.com. Real quick on the Mets. Weekend series in Chicago against the first-place White Sox. And look, we're not getting crazy here. I know that the Post had a story today about, what the Mets need to do to just make a once-in-a-lifetime crazy run to get back into playoff contention. It's not happening. Don't even waste your time consuming thought on it. But I will say this about the Mets. With, 35 or so games left in the season, they are, certainly giving you a more watchable brand of baseball. And that's all you can ask for compared to what the first 3.5 months have been like. And I don't think it's going to change the narrative of what 2026 was. It's still going to be viewed as a major, major disappointment. But, 11-4 since the trade deadline. You just cap off a 5-1 homestand. The young players have brought a little bit of energy, a little bit of life to this team. And, as I was talking about yesterday, and we heard the comments of Steve Cohen, discussing a wide variety of topics about this baseball team and where they're headed, not just this year, but in the future. Maybe Andy Green is going to have a little bit of a change of heart and maybe decide that, I did like this managing thing again. And maybe he is going to throw himself into the conversation to be the permanent manager beginning in 2027, whenever that is, and they get the CBA and all the labor stuff worked out. But, for a guy who is, operating with a team post-trade deadline teardown, he's done a pretty good job and is, shepherded a team that's at least showing some life out there on the baseball field, which is not exactly the worst thing in the world. Let's go back to the phones and say hi to our buddy Richard in Manhattan, who is up next here on ESPN New York. Hello, Rich.
Dan,
how are you?
Hi, Dan. You brought up Tom Selleck and his famous baseball cap, the Detroit Tigers, in the 80s. And it got me to thinking about television and baseball caps. Mm-hmm. Now, you remember Ken Griffey Jr., famously wore his baseball cap backwards. Yep. Nobody had ever seen that. Nobody had ever done it. He was criticized a little bit here and there. He wasn't conforming. Okay. But he was way late to the party. Way late. Do you know the first television, who wore the baseball cap backwards? And nobody had done this. This was about 15 years before Ken Griffey Jr. Oh, maybe 20 years before Ken Griffey did it.
You're going to tell me...
a famous television show.
You're going to tell me Jack Klugman and the Odd Couple?
Very good! You got it! I can't believe you got that, Dan. Jack Klugman on the Odd Couple, 1971. He was a sports writer.
Right.
And, he was kind of slovenly dressed.
He had a Met cap. He wore a Met cap backwards.
Backwards. That's right. I can't believe you knew that.
Well, remember the movie came out first, and didn't Walter Matthau do the same thing in the movie, if I'm not mistaken?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's where you got Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon did the movie. But he did, and he had it on a lot as a TV, on the TV show, because he played the sports writer. So I thought that was great. That was good, Dan. Dan, can I just say one more quick thing?
Yes.
We just celebrated the 57th year anniversary of the Giant the exhibition game at the Yale Bowl. That game, Dan, was bigger than the Super Bowl in New York. Believe me, the Giants wanted to win that game so badly. The Jets blew them out. And if you think about 69, what was going on in the country at then? Vietnam, man just walked on the moon. We had the Mets making their run. Woodstock was going on. And the Jets and Giants went up to New Haven to play that game. It was tremendous, 70,000 people. A week later, the Giants fired Ali Sherman. That never happened in the history of sports, where a New York coach was fired right before the season. But that was as a direct result of that Jet-Giant exhibition game. So that was an historic time. And by the way, as far as New York City school children, we were getting ready to go back to school in September for the first time in 3 years. We had teacher strikes in 67 and 68, so we didn't have school in all of September and half of October. So that was our first year coming back in 69. A lot was going on in New York and in the country at that time, Dan. It was wild. Pleasure always to talk to you, Dan. Thank you.
Rich, appreciate it. Appreciate the stroll down memory lane, which certain odds and ends, always appreciate that. Keeps you on your toes. Richard was really excited that I knew the answer to that little trivia question about the odd couple in the hat backwards, huh? That produced quite the reaction.
We're going to see if we can play back that reaction. We'll see if I can cut it up within the next 3 minutes.
I think you could do such a thing. That was, like I said, that got me on my toes, I think, more than anything else there. But as we said, you got some football here, of course. I will be heading over here in a little bit for Jets coverage tonight. Game 2 of the preseason against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Our coverage begins at 6 over on Q104, so we hope to check in with some of you a little bit later on. And the Giants tomorrow will be down in Miami to take on the Dolphins in preseason game number 2 coming up at 4 o'clock. And I think that it goes without saying for both of these teams, you just want to, again, get through this second preseason game as healthy as possible, no sort of issues. It sounds as if, just from talking to Jordan and everything going on with the Jets, it sounds as if we expect to probably see a little bit more of the starters on the Jets side of things in tonight's game than you will for the Giants coming up tomorrow in that game against Miami. And then next week, of course, a week from tonight at MetLife Stadium, those two teams are going to get together on the field for their annual preseason showdown. It's a Jet home game, and you're probably not going to see a lot of starters on either side in that one, since coaches now rest the regulars for Game 3 of the preseason. And we began the show talking about the Yankees, of course, and look, this is a big homestand for them. Playing good baseball, number one, gotten it to within 4 games of the Tampa Bay Rays and that top spot in the American League East. The Jays are in for 3 this weekend. We'll see if Cody Bellinger is going to be able to make his triumphant return to the Yankee lineup at all in one of these games against Toronto. If not, you're probably looking at after the off day on Monday when the Astros are in beginning on Tuesday. But vibes are good in Yankee land right now. They really and truly are. I don't know if you caught Aaron Boone's presser last night after the game, but, he's sitting there singing Motley Crue that they're playing in the background. Like, he was all fired up and loosey-goosey, which is what you want to see. And let's see if they could carry these winning ways over to this homestand here and, get these injured guys one step closer to getting back on the field. And Judge hitting off of a tee, that's certainly a step in the right direction here for the Bronx Bombers. But that is going to do it for us today. Want to thank Rich Cimini, Jordan Raanan for hopping on the program, Ray Dinahan, and Tom Bauer, of course, for producing the program.
Oh, you got it! I can't believe you got that!
And Rich, of course, for trying to stump us all with the pop culture trivia there just a few minutes ago. Stay tuned for the great Michael Kay. He is up next for a Friday edition of TMKS. I will talk to you bright and early Monday morning with Jordan. Looking forward to that Monday at 6. Enjoy the weekend, everybody. Talk to you soon here on ESPN New York. Bye.
If you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, then you need a lawyer who knows New York's unique personal injury and workers' compensation laws. At the Parisman Firm, they have decades of experience handling all types of accident cases and a proven track record of delivering